Hello my dear students and welcome once again to Zenith Academy Online. Today we are doing line-wise or I can say word-wise explanation of the poem Haunted Houses for ICSE class 10 students. Let's see the first paragraph. All houses wherein men have lived and died are haunted houses. Through the open doors, the harmless phantoms on the errands glide, with feet that make no sound upon the floors. Right? So, let me explain you the difficult words. Haunted. Here, all houses where men have lived are haunted houses. Wait. So, here, haunted means that is visited by ghosts. Phantoms. Phantoms is another word used for ghosts. Errands. Errands means task, the day-to-day work. Okay, and glide means moving very lightly, very smoothly when you glide. So over the slides and all we glide, right? So move lightly or smoothly is called glide. Now let me explain you the meanings of these four lines. The poet describes houses as space where individuals are born, live their lives and eventually pass away. So all houses where men have lived and died. So the poet describes the houses as space where individuals are born, live their lives and eventually pass away. Are haunted houses. Through the open doors, the harmless phantoms on their errands glide. अब इसका क्या मतलब है? According to the poet, these houses are visited by ghosts which enter through open doors. These ghosts glide silently and gracefully without making a sound. Okay, that is why they are saying the harmless phantoms on their errands glide with feet that make no sound upon the floors. So these ghosts glide silently and gracefully without making a sound, being harmless spirits. ऐसे spirit जो harmless है, that wander around, that is they move around, attending to their task. They are doing their task, they are moving around. Okay, so all houses wherein men have lived and died are haunted houses. Through the open doors, the harmless phantoms on their errands अपने काम करते करते वो glide करते हैं. With feet that make no sound upon the floors. So this is the meaning that you should write with perfect words. I have given you better words. Okay, they die की जगह they live, eventually pass away. And these words I have given. Now, what does the poet want to explain by this? So here it is. Just a second, let me erase this slide. Now the term houses here represent our body, our physical body and our lives. Okay, our presence on earth, our body. So term houses means it represents our bodies and lives. It's a metaphor. Now being haunted means being affected by people we meet. So whoever we have met in our lives past, okay, whoever we have met in our lives are the people have affected us. This means that these houses, our bodies are haunted by us, means being affected by the people we have met. Now, just like every house has a history, every person carries memories and impacts from the past relationships. Okay. Now, an open door, why they have used open doors? Open door symbolizes times when we are vulnerable or open. Means ऐसा टाइम जब लोगों की कही हुई बातें या लोगों का इन्फ्लुएंस हम पे जल्दी हो जाता है. कोई ऐसे टाइम होते हैं ना जब हम इमोशनली वीक होते हैं या हम कुछ स्ट्रगल कर रहे होते हैं या व्हाटएवर. ओपन डोर्स मतलब ऐसा टाइम जहां हम वल्नरेबल है कि उनकी चीजें हमें इन्फ्लुएंस कर सके, उनके एक्शंस या उन लोगों की आदतें हमें इन्फ्लुएंस कर सके. दैट इज व्हाई ओपन डोर्स, time when we are vulnerable. The harmless phantoms are those people who have been part of our lives and sometimes without us noticing, हम notice नहीं करते हैं, but they leave small but important marks in our lives, in our actions, in our behaviors. तो वो important memories हो जाती हैं. Their quiet or silent movements or actions, because यहाँ बोल रखा है they glide doing their work, they glide with feet that make no sound upon the floors. तो यहाँ इसका क्या मतलब है? Their quiet or silent movements justify or mean that we often don't realize how much they have influenced our lives. हमें realize नहीं होता है, वो कोई आवाज़ें करके अपने ऊपर influence नहीं छोड़ते हैं. They keep on doing their work, their movements are silent and quiet. It means we don't realize how much they have influenced our lives. I hope this is very clear to you. So these are the 4 lines, these are the meanings, and then I have given you the meanings of this line and what does the poet want to say by these lines. I hope this is clear, the first 4 lines. Great. Next, we meet them at the doorway, on the stair, along the passages they come and go. Impalpable impressions on the air, a sense of something moving to and fro. Now, impalpable means something that we cannot touch, something that cannot be felt physically. हम touch करके नहीं बता पाते, that is impalpable, impalpable impressions, right? बाकी सब तो meanings एकदम clear है. तो now, the meaning of these 4 lines. He mentions their omnipresence. अच्छे words use किए मैंने यहाँ देखो. He mentions their omnipresence. Omnipresence मतलब हर जगह है. फोटो से भी आपको दिख रहा होगा, ghost हर जगह है. We meet them at the door, on the stair, along the passages. Okay. So he mentions their omnipresence by the door, on the stairs, moving through the corridors. By all these things, he mentions their omnipresence. Now, although intangible, intangible मतलब जिसे हम feel नहीं कर सकते, जिसे हम touch नहीं कर सकते, impalpable का दूसरा word है. Okay, so although intangible, their presence lingers on the air. हवा में उनकी presence हमेशा रहती है, इसलिए impalpable impressions on the air कहा गया है. One can sense the motion of something in the atmosphere. A sense of something moving to and fro. मतलब हम उसको touch नहीं कर सकते हैं, लेकिन उनकी presence हवा में रहती है और हम सेंस कर सकते हैं उनका मोशन एटमॉस्फेयर में आगे पीछे जाते हुए. राइट ना, इससे कहने का क्या मतलब है, पोएट कहना क्या चाहता है? इससे पोएट ये कहना चाहता है, देखो, द प्लेसेस मेंशन्ड लाइक डोरवेज, स्टेयर्स, पैसेजेस, ये क्या रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं? इट रिप्रेजेंट्स डिफरेंट स्टेजेस एंड चेंजेस इन आवर लाइव्स. ओके, these people influence us in different ways and at different times, but their impact stays with us even if it is as invisible as impressions on the air. So students, for your kind information, let me tell you, I have also made a summary of this poem, जिसमें पूरा एक्सप्लेन किया है कि कैसे हॉन्टेड हाउस में घोस्ट को दिखा के पोएट बताना चाहता है कि कैसे हमारी बॉडी और हमारा फिजिकल प्रेजेंस इस दुनिया में, हमारे एक्शंस या हमारा बिहेवियर कैसे इन्फ्लुएंस होता है, हमारे पास्ट इन्फ्लुएंसेस, हम पास्ट में जिनसे मिले हैं उनकी एक्शंस से या उनके प्रेजेंस से हमारा फिजिकल सेल्फ, हमारी बिहेवियर, हमारी बात करने की तरीका या हम कैसे चीज़ों को देखते हैं वो कैसे अफेक्ट होता है. तो हॉन्टेड हाउस मतलब हमारी बॉडी, घोस्ट मतलब जो इम्प्रेशंस हमारे पे आए हुए हैं जिन लोगों से हम पहले मिले हैं. ठीक है, तो वही हर पैराग्राफ में वही चीज़ों को समझाया जा रहा है यहाँ पे. अब ये तीसरा पैराग्राफ देखिए, फोटोज देखते जाइए, फोटो से आपको हर पैराग्राफ समझ आता जाएगा. ठीक है, देयर आर मोर गेस्ट्स एट द टेबल देन द होस्ट्स इनवाइटेड. द इल्यूमिनेटेड हॉल is thronged with quite inoffensive ghosts, as silent as the pictures on the wall. बच्चों आप हमेशा ये भी देख रहे होंगे, देखो ए बी फॉलो किया, होस्ट्स, घोस्ट्स, हॉल, वॉल, राइट. So A and B. This is the sound of the poem. Now see, illuminated hall, illuminated मतलब lighted, thronged मतलब पूरा भरा हुआ, crowded, भीड़ भाड़, thronged with quite inoffensive ghosts. Inoffensive मतलब harmless. अब सभी वर्ड्स का मीनिंग समझ आ गया. There are more guests at the table than the host. जितने होस्ट है उससे ज्यादा लोग हैं. Than the host invited. होस्ट ने जितने लोगों को इनवाइट किया है उससे ज्यादा लोग हैं at the table. The illuminated hall, हॉल है रोशनी से भरा हुआ, is thronged with quite inoffensive ghosts. वो भरा पड़ा है inoffensive ghost से. As silent as the picture on the wall. वॉल पे जो पिक्चर है वैसे ही साइलेंट है ये घोस्ट. तो इनका एग्जैक्टली इंग्लिश में मीनिंग देखो बहुत अच्छे से और अच्छे वर्ड्स में. Once more he urges, he means poet, urges their attendance. Their attendance means ghost के attendance. He urges their attendance at the dining table. The guests आउट नंबर दोज इन्वाइटेड बाय द होस्ट, बहुत अच्छी इंग्लिश में लिखा हुआ है आउट नंबर दोज इन्वाइटेड बाय द होस्ट, मतलब होस्ट ने अगर 4 इन्वाइट किए थे तो ये आउट नंबर हो गए, मतलब 6-7 है, मतलब इसमें कुछ गोस्ट भी है. विद द गोस्ट बीइंग द अनएक्सपेक्टेड विजिटर्स. द वेल लिट हॉल, हॉल जो है वो वेल लिट है, अच्छी रोशनी से भरा हुआ है. इल्यूमिनेटेड हॉल मतलब लाइटेड, वेल लिट हॉल इज ऑक्यूपाइड बाय पीसफुल गोस्ट्स हु रिमेन साइलेंट. द पोएट लाइकन्स देम टू द, लाइकन्स देम मतलब उनको कंपेयर कर रहा है. द पोएट इज लाइकिंग देम, पोएट लाइकन्स देम टू द पेंटिंग्स ऑन द वॉल, मतलब जैसे पेंटिंग ऑफ द वॉल है लाइकवाइज दे आर देयर. Okay, the poet likens them to the painting on the wall, emphasizing the ghost's tranquil nature. Emphasize कर रहा है इस चीज के लिए कि ghosts का nature tranquil type का है, मतलब वो quiet है, inoffensive है. So अगर ये 4 लाइनें आई आपको explain करने को, तो this is the type of English that you should use to write the answer. And by this what does the poet mean? That our conscious mind, table को किससे compare किया? अपने conscious mind से. The conscious mind, that is the table, only recognize a small part of the influence and memories we have. तो वो टेबल पे तो होस्ट को सिर्फ वही लोग दिख रहे हैं जिसको उसने इनवाइट किया है. तो हमारा जो कॉन्शियस माइंड है, ठीक है, वो सिर्फ एक वो इन्फ्लुएंस का एक स्मॉल फ्रैक्शन या स्मॉल पार्ट ही रियलाइज करता है जो भी हमारी मेमोरीज और इन्फ्लुएंस है उससे. बट आवर सबकॉन्शियस, दैट इज द इल्यूमिनेटेड हॉल, इज फुल ऑफ मेनी पास्ट इंटरेक्शंस shown here as quite harmless ghost. तो यहाँ पोएट क्या कहना चाहता है कि हम यूजुअली ना, हमें लगता है कि अच्छा हमारा ये बिहेवियर ऐसा है तो मे बी इस कारण से, पास्ट में हमारे साथ ये हुआ था तो इस कारण से हमारा बिहेवियर ऐसा है. लेकिन डीप डाउन, ठीक है, हमारा सबकॉन्शियस जो चमक रहा है, इल्यूमिनेटेड हो रहा है, सबकॉन्शियस इज मोर नोन, है ना, सबकॉन्शियस जिसको ज्यादा बातें पता है. हमारा सबकॉन्शियस माइंड के पास बहुत सारे ऐसे पास्ट इंटरेक्शंस है, बहुत सारी चीजें पास्ट में ऐसी हुई थी जिसकी वजह से ये इन्फ्लुएंस हुआ है. बट हमें ऊपरी सतह पे कुछ इन्फ्लुएंस ही हम रिकॉग्नाइज कर पा रहे हैं कि इसकी वजह से हुआ है, ठीक है. और ये जो इन्फ्लुएंसेस है ये क्वाइट हार्मलेस घोस्ट से कंपेयर किए गए हैं, क्योंकि ये हमें पता नहीं चलते, कितनी चीजें हम रिकॉग्नाइज नहीं करते. जब पास्ट में हुआ भी था और अभी जो हमारा बिहेवियर है हमें इतना पता नहीं चलता है कि उसकी वजह से हुआ है, इसीलिए इसे हार्मलेस क्वाइट कहा गया है. नाउ सी हियर, fireplace के around people are sitting and there are few ghosts as well. The stranger at my fireside cannot see the forms I see, nor hear the sounds I hear, but he perceives what is, while unto me all that has been is visible and clear. यहाँ फॉर्म्स का मतलब है शेप्स, गोस्ट अलग अलग फॉर्म्स में आते हैं, राइट. परसीव का मतलब देखना, जैसा मैं देख पाता हूँ, जैसा मैं परसीव कर पाता हूँ. द पोएट डिस्क्राइब्स अ स्ट्रेंजर सिटिंग बिसाइड हिम, उसके साथ जो स्ट्रेंजर बैठा है उनको डिस्क्राइब करते हुए कह रहा है फायर साइड प्लेस के अराउंड, दैट दिस पर्सन इज अनएबल टू परसीव द घोस्टली फिगर्स और दे आर अनएबल टू हियर द साउंड्स द पोएट कैन हियर. So this stranger is limited to observing the living present. अभी मैं जैसा हूँ वो सिर्फ वही देख पा रहा है. While the poet can witness, poet क्या witness कर पाता है? Events that is span from present to the past. जो events past में हुए थे से अभी तक हो रहे हैं, वो सब ghost के subconscious में है, वो सब देख पाता है. This hints, ये चीज क्या hint करती है? That the speaker may be a ghost or as he can see other ghosts, whereas the individual next to him is a human. तो ये सब, ये 4 लाइन से ऐसा पता चलता है. पर इससे पोएट क्या कहना चाहता है रियल सेंस में, कि हमारी जो एक्सपीरियंसेस है, आर एक्सपीरियंसेस, मेमोरीज एंड द इम्पैक्ट ऑफ द पास्ट रिलेशनशिप, दे आर वेरी पर्सनल, है ना. वो जो इम्पैक्ट हमारे पे हुआ है, हमारे एक्सपीरियंस और हमारी मेमोरी से, वो हम पे ही हुआ है ना, सामने वाले को नहीं पता है कि हम पे ये इफेक्ट हुआ है, ठीक है. अदर पीपल माइट ओनली सी हु वी आर नाउ, जो अभी हम है, जैसा हम अपने आप को प्रेजेंट करते हैं, या जैसे मेरा अभी का परसेप्शन है, मेरे अभी के थॉट्स है, वो सिर्फ वही देख पाते हैं, है ना. उसको नहीं पता है कि फ्यूचर में पास्ट में मेरे साथ क्या हुआ था जिसकी वजह से मैं ऐसा हूं, राइट. सो अदर पीपल माइट ओनली सी हु वी आर नाउ. तो यहाँ पे क्या है, बट परसीव्स व्हाट इज, while unto me, लेकिन मैं, मेरे लिए सब कुछ विजिबल और क्लियर है. बट वी आर डीपली अवेयर ऑफ आवर हिस्ट्री and all the things that have shaped our current thoughts and feelings. I hope this is very very clear कि मेरे आसपास जो लोग हैं वो उसको तो मेरा प्रेजेंट सेल्फ ही दिख रहा है, उनको नहीं पता है कि पास्ट में मेरे साथ क्या हुआ था, और वो इन्फ्लुएंसेस है मेरे पर्सनल बिहेवियर पे, जिसने मेरे करंट थॉट्स और फीलिंग्स को शेप किया है. Now we have no title deeds to house or lands, owners and occupants of earlier dates. From graves forgotten stretch their dusty hands. From graves forgotten stretch their dusty hands, and hold in mortmen still their old estates. यहाँ टाइटल डीड का क्या मतलब है कि जो नाम है, लीगल डॉक्यूमेंट ऑफ ओनरशिप, कि ये घर मेरा है, वो लीगल टाइटल डीड कहते हैं हम उसको. ठीक है. वी हैव नो टाइटल डीड्स टू द हाउस और लैंड्स, ओनर्स एंड ऑक्यूपेंट्स ऑफ द अर्लियर डेट्स. तो ये जो अभी का घर है उसमें पहले कुछ जमाने पहले जो लोग रह रहे थे उनके टाइटल डीड्स तो नहीं है, लीगल डॉक्यूमेंट्स ऑफ ओनरशिप नहीं है, लेकिन वो फिर भी अपने डस्टी हैंड्स फॉरगॉटन ग्रेव्स में से निकाल के अपना हक जमाते रहते हैं. होल्ड इन मॉर्टमैन का क्या मतलब है? होल्ड इन इनएलिएबल पोजेशन, अभी भी वो पजेस किए हुए हैं उस घर को, है ना. The ghost no longer possess the houses currently, but they did own them when they were alive. Now buried and forgotten by the descendants, they extend their dusty hands from their graves. फोटो से भी एकदम क्लियर पता चल रहा है. Yearning to reclaim the properties they once held. जो उनके पास थी वो प्रॉपर्टी, उसको रिक्लेम करने के लिए वो यर्न कर रहे हैं, वो बहुत चाह रहे हैं, डिजायर है उनका, और अपने ग्रेव में से डस्टी हैंड्स निकाल रहे हैं. Reluctant to relinquish ownership to their heirs, ना वो रिलक्टेंट है कि जो मेरे आगे 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 आए हुए हैं, मेरी पीढ़ियां, ठीक है, वो रिलक्टेंट है कि मैं उनको ओनरशिप दे दूं. तो दे हार्बर अ डिजायर, उनको एक डिजायर है, वो इसलिए वो वहां पे आसपास घूमते रहते हैं या उस घर में घूमते रहते हैं. सो रिलक्टेंट टू relinquish ownership to their heirs, they harbor a desire to retain possession of their houses. उन्हें ये डिजायर है कि मैं अभी भी इस हाउस के पोजीशन में रहूं, है ना, मैं इस हाउस का मैं पोजेस करता हूँ, इसलिए वो पूरे घर में घूमते रहते हैं. लाइनों से ये मतलब निकल के आ रहा है. बट इससे कहने का क्या तात्पर्य है, पोएट क्या कहना चाहता है? दिस सजेस्ट दैट व्हाइल वी मे फील ओनरशिप ओवर आवर बॉडीज एंड लाइव्स, अभी जो हमारी बॉडी है और अभी जो हमारी लाइफ है, हमें लगता है कि हम इसके ओनर हैं, वी मे फील द ओनरशिप ऑफ, बट we also feel like that we control our bodies and lives, but in real sense we don't truly own the influences and memories within us. हमको जो influence मिले हैं या जो memories हमारे अंदर है, हम उसको own नहीं करते हैं. People from the past, okay, people from our past, even though who are long forgotten, जिसे हम बहुत टाइम पहले भूल चुके हैं, they continue to impact, हमारे ब्रेन को इम्पैक्ट करते रहते हैं. और किस चीज को इम्पैक्ट करते हैं? जो चॉइसेस हम बनाते हैं कि मैं लाइफ में ये कर रहा हूँ, जो भी चॉइस हम लेते हैं, ये जिस भी तरीके से हम चीजों को परसीव करते हैं, चीजों को देखते हैं, वो कौन अभी भी कंट्रोल कर रहा है? वो लोग या वो पास्ट जो लॉन्ग फॉरगॉटन है, दे स्टिल कंटिन्यू टू इम्पैक्ट आवर चॉइसेस, आवर परसेप्शन, हाउ वी सी थिंग्स. ओके, please keep on making notes, children. I'm just explaining by reading this, but you have to keep on making notes, and I hope you're understanding everything. I'm using a mix of English and Hindi so that you understand things very well. Now see this picture. The spirit world around this world of sense. World of sense मतलब अभी हमारा जो physical world है, earth जो है, उसके around एक spirit world है. The spirit world around this world of sense floats like an atmosphere and everywhere, wafts through this earthly mists and vapors dense, a vital breath of more ethereal air. वर्ल्ड ऑफ सेंस का मतलब है, देखो यहाँ पे है वर्ल्ड ऑफ सेंस. वर्ल्ड ऑफ सेंस का मतलब है रियल वर्ल्ड दैट कैन बी फेल्ट, रियल वर्ल्ड दैट कैन बी फेल्ट बाय सेंसेस. नाउ वॉफ्ट्स थ्रू, वॉफ्ट्स मतलब पासेस लाइटली, वाइटल मतलब इंपॉर्टेंट, अ वाइटल ब्रेथ. एथीरियल एयर मीन्स अदर वर्ल्डली एटमॉस्फेयर, दूसरी मतलब दूसरे वर्ल्ड का जो एटमॉस्फेयर है. एथीरियल, एथीरियल मतलब यहाँ का नहीं, बाहर का. ठीक है, तो इन चारों लाइन से पोएट क्या कह रहा है? एग्जैक्ट एक्सप्लेनेशन ऑफ दिस लाइन, मीनिंग ऑफ दिस लाइन्स मीन्स देयर एग्जिस्ट अ वर्ल्ड ऑफ लिविंग, जो कि है वर्ल्ड ऑफ सेंस, है ना, देयर एग्जिस्ट अ वर्ल्ड ऑफ द लिविंग. नाउ दिस वर्ल्ड इज सराउंडेड बाय वर्ल्ड ऑफ द डेड और द गोस्ट, उससे सराउंडेड है. Now this world of ghost is similar to the atmosphere which is prevalent everywhere. World of dead mingles lightly, है ना, wafts through, मतलब slightly waft through the earthly mist. So they mingle lightly with the world of living through the mist and dense vapors in the air. Now this world of dead is an important part. It's a vital breath of more ethereal air. This world of dead is an important part of the worldly atmosphere. अब इसका क्या मतलब हुआ? इसका मतलब हुआ कि the spirit world, है ना, जो भूतों का वर्ल्ड है, it represents our memories and our past influences. That surrounds what? It surrounds our physical life. This invisible realm, it adds depth to our everyday experiences, enriching our understanding and perspective. तो ये जो रिल्म है ना, ये इनविजिबल रिल्म है, ये जो हमको घेरे हुए हैं, हमारे पास्ट इन्फ्लुएंसेस जो है, जो हमारे अभी के फिजिकल सेल्फ को घेरे हुए है, ये ना हमको डेप्थ देती है, ये हमको और गहराई में समझने में हेल्प करती है. हमारे जो एवरीडे एक्सपीरियंसेस है, हम कोई चीज़ को एक्सपीरियंस कर रहे हैं अभी, तो उसको समझने में कौन हेल्प करता है? हमारे पास्ट के इन्फ्लुएंसेस, हमारे पास्ट की मेमोरीज, है ना. इस तरीके से हम एनरिच कर सकते हैं हमारी अंडरस्टैंडिंग और हमारे पर्सपेक्टिव को. तो हमारी अंडरस्टैंडिंग और पर्सपेक्टिव एनरिच्ड कैसे होते हैं? हमारी पहले की जो मेमोरीज और इन्फ्लुएंसेस है उसकी वजह से, जो हमें घेरे हुए है. आई होप दिस इज क्लियर. Now our little lives are kept in equipoise. Equipoise means balance by opposite attractions and desires. The struggle of the instinct that enjoys and the more noble instinct that aspires. तो देखो, equipoise का मतलब है बैलेंस, इंस्टिंक्ट मतलब हमारा जो नेचुरल रिएक्शन होता है, नोबल मतलब अच्छा, इंस्टिंक्ट तो बता ही दिया, अच्छा रिएक्शन. aspires मतलब to have a strong desire or to do something, you aspire to do something, right? एक तो देखो, एक तो हमारा होता है नॉर्मल अट्रैक्शन एंड डिजायर कि हम क्या चाहते हैं, और एक होता है जो नोबल इंस्टिंक्ट है, जो हमें ऊंचाइयों की तरफ ले जाता है. तो पहले इसका मीनिंग देख लेते हैं. देयर एग्जिस्ट अ डेलिकेट बैलेंस इन आवर लाइव्स बिटवीन द परस्यूट ऑफ प्लेजर एंड द नोबल परस्यूट ऑफ सक्सेस. एस्पिरेशन मतलब सक्सेस लेना. दिस कॉन्फ्लिक्ट fosters equilibrium in human existence. So इन चारों का ये मतलब है. अब इससे पोएट क्या कहना चाहता है कि हमारी जो लाइव्स है, our lives are always balancing between our basic desires, एक तो हमारा जो बेसिक डिजायर है, and our higher goals, है ना. So the people we meet affect this balance, with some encouraging us to seek short-term pleasures. Some of the people influence us or encourage us to seek short-term pleasures, while others inspire us to aim for bigger achievements. I hope these lines are very clear. I'll repeat. Our little lives are kept in equipoise by opposite attractions and desires. The struggle of the instinct that enjoys and the more noble instinct that aspires. तो जो लोग हैं, जो influence है हमारे पास, है ना, the people we meet, they affect this balance. Some of them encourage us to seek short-term pleasures, while others give us, the influence of those others inspire us to aim for bigger achievements. These perturbations, this perpetual jar of earthly wants and aspirations high, come from the influence of an unseen star, an undiscovered planet in our sky. Perturbations का मीन्स है मेंटल डिस्टर्बेंसेस. These disturbances, क्योंकि दो चीजें हैं, है ना, तो ये एक मेंटल डिस्टर्बेंस हो गई. परपेचुअल जार मतलब, इधर परपेचुअल जार का मतलब है हमारा इमॉर्टल सोल, हमारी आत्मा जो कभी मरती नहीं है. इमॉर्टल मतलब जो कभी नहीं मरती है. एस्पिरेशंस का मीनिंग तो आपको पता है, एम या एम्बिशंस. So human life is often influenced by desires that can cause mental unrest or disturbance. Our aspirations, our longings मतलब जो हम एकदम दिल से चाहते हैं, sometimes bring us sorrow. Additionally, our minds and thinking patterns can be influenced by celestial bodies such as mysterious star or an unknown planet in the sky. ठीक है, so they come from the influence of an unseen star and undiscovered planet in our sky. ठीक है, ये जो disturbance है, these perturbations, this perpetual jar of earthly wants and aspirations है, तो ये जो disturbance हुआ है जो हमारे सोल में है ना, कि हमें क्या करना है ना, हमारे सोल में जो डिस्टर्बेंस हो रहा है, ये कहाँ से आता है? कभी कभी अनसीन इन्फ्लुएंस फ्रॉम अनसीन स्टार और अनडिस्कवर्ड प्लैनेट. अब पोएट कहना चाहता है कि जो हमारे इंटरनल स्ट्रगल्स है, पर्ट्यूबिशंस को कहा गया है इंटरनल स्ट्रगल्स, आर इंटरनल स्ट्रगल्स, द फाइट बिटवीन व्हाट वी वांट एंड व्हाट वी एस्पायर टू बी. हमें चाहिए क्या, छोटी छोटी चीजें, और हमारा एस्पिरेशन क्या है, जो बड़ी चीजें हैं, often come from hidden or unnoticed influences. This unseen star or undiscovered planet represent what? Represents those powerful but unrecognized people. इसलिए बोला है unseen या undiscovered. तो ये लोग जो थे, वो जो मूवमेंट थे, है ना, जिन्होंने जो हमको इतना इफेक्ट करे, वो पावरफुल थे, इसलिए तो अभी तक इम्पैक्ट है, लेकिन हम जानते नहीं हैं, है ना, हमको नहीं पता है कि उनकी वजह से ये इन्फ्लुएंस हो रहा है. So powerful but unrecognized people or moments that shape our inner direction. So these are very important lines that I have written. Please mention. So whenever you are writing an answer, पहले आपको ये लिखना है exact meaning of the line and what do you mean by them, how they have compared. Both you have to write. And as the moon from some dark gate of cloud throws over the sea a floating bridge of light, across whose trembling planks our fancies crowd into the realm of mystery and night. So here planks means flat pieces of wood, fancies means imaginations, and realm means region. The moonlight which travels from the moon to the earth is like a bridge of light. You can see in the picture as well, when the moonlight is hitting the seas, can you see? It's looking like a bridge, right? It trembles in the air and at night during our dreams. So the way when it trembles, right? This light trembles when there are waves around in the night, there are winds flowing, right? So it trembles in the air and at night during our dreams. It gives us imaginations which are the guiding factor for our actions. So the meaning of these 4 lines is this, but what does the poet mean by saying this is that this picturesque scene illustrates how past influences can act as a guiding light. So here they have compared the moon and the light of the moon as the guiding light that has been given by our past experiences. So our past impressions, our past experiences, okay, has been compared as the guiding light of the moon. So this picturesque scene illustrates how past influences can act as a guiding light. Just as the moon lights a pathway over the sea, it underscores the notion that our past molds and impacts our journey even in the unfamiliar territory. So here they have written into the realm of mystery and night. So when the night is mysterious, we don't know, whenever there is a mystery and night, it means it is an unfamiliar territory for us. So whenever in life we are starting maybe some new project, or maybe we are entering into an unfamiliar territory, means we are doing something new. At that time, what is the guiding light? What is the guiding force? Our past experiences guides us. Okay, now since in the past I have learned this from my experience, so now since you are entering this unfamiliar territory, since you are doing this thing new, so this is what you should do. So that's the guiding light. So as the moon from the some dark gate of cloud throws over the sea a floating bridge of light, across whose trembling planks, in the night, the bridge, the planks of the bridge, the flat pieces of the wood are always trembling, right? So across those trembling planks our fancies crowd into the realm of mystery and night. So whenever you are starting something new, or you are doing something that you have never done before. Okay, so and when you are very, very conscious, you are very scared, okay, like a floating bridge, okay, at that time, okay, the moon from some dark gate of cloud, your, what you can say, your past influences, they throws over a sea a floating bridge of light. The way you see in the picture, there's a light and it is acting like a floating bridge. So this bridge, this your past influences act as a guiding light, and it lights a whole pathway over the sea of uncertainty. So from the world of spirits, there descends a bridge of light, connecting it with this. Over those unsteady floor that sways and bends, wander our thoughts above the dark abyss. So descends means coming down. So from the world of spirits, there descends, क्या नीचे आ रहा है? A bridge of light connecting it with this, over whose unsteady floor. Unsteady means it keeps on moving, not steady at one place. That sways and bends. Sways means moves from side to side. This, the way a boat sways, that sways and bends, wander our thoughts above the dark abyss. Abyss is a bottomless hole or space that you can see. So in seas, maybe you have seen, whenever there's abyss, okay, then the boats or the ships goes round and round and round, and then they get drowned in it. Similar thing happens in sky as well. Right, so what's the meaning of these 4 lines? This moonlight is a connection between the world of spirits and the world of the living. So from the world of spirits, you can see here, so from the world of spirits, there descends a bridge of light. So this moonlight, bridge of light, is a connection between world of spirits and the world of living. The bridge trembles and wavers, and along with it, our thoughts also travel into mysterious regions. These great mysterious thoughts and ideas come to our mind in the form of dreams and guide us towards the action and deeds. So these mysterious ideas, they come through this abyss, through in the form of dreams towards us and guide us towards the action and deeds. So what do you mean by this? So this wraps up the whole poem by saying that the spirits or the influences from the past connect to our present. As we live our lives, the choices we make and the emotions we feel are constantly influenced by those who have impacted us before. So now the poem is over. Let's talk about figures of speech. So rhyme scheme is AB, AB. I have already explained you before. So if we go here, see this. Oh, sorry. Descends. Whenever I click here, descends. Just a second. So descends and bends. There's something wrong here in this slide, so I'll go back. So here if you see cloud and crowd, light and night. See the last words. Night, light, cloud, crowd. So if this is A, if this is A, this is A. If this is B, light and night. So AB, AB. That's the rhyming scheme. So rhyme scheme is AB, AB. Simile. When you compare between two things using the word like or as. So let's see where simile is used in the poem. Inoffensive ghosts, as silent as the pictures on the wall, the spirit world around this world of sense, and floats like an atmosphere. These are the lines where simile is used. Now metaphor, whenever there is an indirect comparison between the quality of two things, that's a metaphor. So this perpetual jar of earthly wants and aspirations high. So here the perpetual jar is used to denote the immortal soul. I have already explained you this. So from the world of spirits there descends a bridge of light connecting it with this. So here the bridge of light is a mysterious bridge which connects the human world and the ghostly world. Now let's see where personification is used. What is personification, my dear children? When a human quality is attributed to a non-human or any object. Whenever human is compared with any object, the quality of human. So let's see, as the moon from some dark gate of cloud throws over the sea a floating bridge of light. So here the act of throwing, The moon doesn't throw something. So here they are saying throwings over the sea, a floating bridge of light. So the quality, human quality is attributed to moon. So here the act of throwing personifies moon. Alliteration. What is alliteration? The repetition of a constant sound at the start of two or more consecutive words. So if you see haunted houses, HH, repetition of a consonant, that is H, at the start of two or more consecutive words. The words have to be consecutive. Little lives, LL. Now anaphora. When two or more consecutive lines start with the same word. So one line, the stranger at my fireside cannot see the forms I see. Now here the sounds are here. So this is anaphora. Now antithesis. When opposite words are closely placed, like lived and died, come and go, to and fro. Hello everyone and welcome once again to Zenith Academy Online. Today I'll be explaining you the poem The Glove and the Lions by Leigh Hunt for ICSE class 10 students. Let's begin without wasting any time. So that's the first poem of our line. King Francis was a hearty king and loved a royal sport. Now here, hearty means vigorous and cheerful. So he was a hearty king. He was always cheerful. He used to live with his heart. That is hearty king. He was vigorous and cheerful and loved a royal sport. Now what does royal sport mean? Royal sport means entertainment or activity enjoyed by royalty, means the kings, often involving grandeur. So since it is a royal sport, so obviously grandeur, pomp and show is always there. Okay, so this is the entertainment or activity enjoyed by the royalty, by the royal family, the nobles. Okay, now let's understand what is the meaning of these two lines. So King Francis was a lively and robust king who enjoyed grand and noble forms of entertainment. So whenever you are told to write the meanings, write good words, write different words which are not there in those lines. So instead of hearty king, you can write vigorous and cheerful, lively and robust king. Okay, loved a royal sport. Instead of that, you can write he was a king who enjoyed. Instead of love, you say enjoyed grand and noble forms of entertainment. Now analysis of these lines. What is the analysis? Okay. So this line sets the stage for the scene, establishing King Francis as a vibrant and enthusiastic ruler who delights in majestic and thrilling activities. So I have given you here different words and different phrases so that you don't repeat those words again and again in your explanation, and the examiner is very impressed with your use of words, with your vocabulary. Let's go ahead with the next line. And one day, as his lions fought, sat looking on the court. Now here, court means the king's assembly or his noblemen and women. So either the assembly or whenever the noblemen and women are there in a group, it is called court. Now one day, so let's understand the explanation. One day, as his lions were fighting, see, and one day as his lions fought. So as his lions were fighting, King Francis sat and watched along with his court. Okay, so analysis, the line creates a vivid image. Okay, so by reading these lines, we are able to imagine. So this line is creating a vivid image of a royal spectacle. Why is it a royal spectacle? First of all, the king and the court are royal people, and lion is also very royal animal, right? So this line creates a vivid image of royal spectacle, emphasizing the grandeur and ferocity of the event, with the king and his court as spectators. So very beautiful lines used. Use them, make notes. Now next, the nobles filled the benches round, the ladies by their side. So here, nobles mean people of noble rank or high social status, right? We all know what is benches. seats arranged in rows for spectators. Now let's understand the meaning of these two lines. The benches around the area were filled with nobles and the ladies sat beside them. The meaning is very simple, but let's study the analysis. So this line emphasizes the high social status of the spectators. So this line is emphasizing that the nobles filled the benches round the ladies by their side. So this line is emphasizing the high social status of the spectators, highlighting the importance and the exclusivity of the event. Next, and amongst them sat the Count de Lorge with one for whom he sighed. Now here, amongst, this is another way of writing amongst. Okay, it means among. Sighed, here, sighed means expressed longing or love. Okay, so here it is written, and amongst them sat the Count de Lorge with one. So with whom he is sitting? With one for whom he sighed, for whom he is longing for love. Okay, whom he loves. So explanation is very simple. Among the spectators was Count de Lorge, okay, who was seated next to a lady he was in love with. So my dear students, explanation is just the meaning of these two lines, and then what does it imply, what does the poet wants to say is the analysis. So in analysis he is saying, in these lines are introducing Count de Lorge and his romantic interests, adds a personal and emotional element to the scene, setting up the central conflict. So my dear students, this line is introducing Count de Lorge and his romantic interest. Romantic interest means the one he loves. So that's another phrase for one you love is your romantic interest, right? Now this adds a emotional and a personal element to the scene, and it shows the central conflict, the central part, that there is Count de Lorge and there is a lady whom he loves. And truly it was a gallant thing to see that crowning show. Now gallant means brave or heroic or splendid. Why is it called a crowning show? What does crowning show means? A spectacular or grand display is known as crowning show. A show which is very grand. Okay, now what does these two lines means? It was indeed a splendid and magnificent sight to behold that event. Okay, it was indeed a splendid and magnificent sight to behold. How was the sight? It was magnificent sight to behold. Okay, now analysis. This line reinforces, it is again emphasizing on. This line is reinforcing the grandeur and the heroism of the spectacle, creating a sense of awe and admiration. Okay, again emphasizing so that we are in awe of that scene and admiration for this. Next lines, valor and love, and a king above, and the royal beasts below. So here you see valor and love. It is said for that quote, that person and his love, and then a king is there above them and the royal beast below. So valor means great courage in the face of danger. Okay. So the explanation, the scene was filled with bravery, love, the presence of king and the majestic animals below. So these two lines are saying what? The presence of valor, that is bravery, the presence of love, king and majestic animals. Four things are mentioned. Valor, that is the bravery or great courage. In between the danger there is great courage. So courage, love, king and majestic animals. So the juxtaposition of valor, love and royalty with the fierce lions underscores the high stakes and dramatic tensions of the scene. So this is showing, because there is fierce lions, there is valor, love, royalty. So it is showing high stakes and dramatic tension of the scene. So there are high stakes, king hai, royal beasts are there, high stakes hai. There's dramatic tension because royal beasts are below. So these things are shown in these lines. Ramped and roared the lions with horrid laughing jaws. So ramped or ramped as you pronounce means reared up on hind legs or acted aggressively. It means the front legs. Okay, they are ramping. Okay, so they are reared up on hind legs or acted aggressively. Where are they reared up? On the front legs and they are acting aggressively. That means ramped. Horrid means anything that causes horror is horrid. So here the jaws are given the adjective horrid, laughing jaws. Horrid means causing horror. Now let's understand the meaning of these two lines. The lions were aggressively rearing and roaring with their terrifying open mouths. Their laughing mouths means their open mouths. So the vivid description of the lions adds to the sense of danger and excitement. So this is what these two lines are. What? They are the description of lions, how they are describing that they are reared up on their hind legs and their open jaws are causing horror. It's adding the sense of danger here. So the vivid description of the lion adds to the sense of danger and excitement and heightening the drama of the event. So these two lines are heightening the drama of the event. Next lines. They bit, they glared, gave blows like beams. A wind went with their paws. Now again there's this description of lions here. They bit, they glared, gave blows like beams. A wind went with their paws. Here glared means stared fiercely. They are staring at you fiercely. Blows like beams means strong, powerful hits. So whenever it's hitting you, it is blowing like a beam. Whenever the lion is hitting, okay, it means it is a very strong, powerful hit. That means blows like beams. Beams are very strong, right? So whenever it is blowing like beam, it means it is a very strong and powerful hit. Now the lions bit, stared fiercely. You know bit, what is bit? Katna. The lions bit, stared fiercely and struck with great force. Their movements creating a gust of wind, and a wind went with their paws. So when they are moving their paws, wind is going. Okay, a wind is blowing. It means their movements are creating a gust of wind. So I'll read the explanation again. The lions bit, stared fiercely and struck with great force. And whenever they are moving, their movements, even if they are moving their body, their paws, whatever, their movements are creating a gust of wind. So now let's read the analysis. The powerful imagery, it is showing a very powerful imagery. We are able to imagine things. So the powerful imagery conveys the sheer force and the intensity of the lion's actions, emphasizing the perilous nature of the spectacle. So students, please note down, make notes. These are amazing notes that I have given you. These will give you very good marks. This will fetch you amazing marks because the vocabulary used is very good. You should learn and practice and use this vocabulary and use this in your essays, letters, everywhere, so that you get great marks. With bellowing might and stifled roar, they rolled on one another. So what does bellowing mean? Moving about clumsily. Whenever someone moves about clumsily, it is called bellowing. Stifled means suppressed, and stifled roar. Okay, the roar was suppressed. So let's understand the meaning. With powerful and clumsy movements, with bellowing, might is something very big, very powerful. So with powerful and clumsy movements and muffled roars. So stifled roar, instead of stifled they have used the word muffled. Muffled or stifled is when something is suppressed. Okay. So with powerful and clumsy movements and muffled roars, the roars that are not very loud, the lions rolled over each other. Okay, so might is powerful. Okay, I'll write this word. Okay, so analysis. The depiction of lions struggle. Okay, because lions are struggling with each other. They are rolling over one another. Adds to the chaotic, right, and tumultuous atmosphere. The atmosphere that is filled with turmoil. Okay, reflecting the unpredictability of the event. We don't know. No, we have not predicted the event that what will happen. So the depiction of lions struggle adds to the chaotic and the tumultuous atmosphere, reflecting the unpredictability of the event. Next lines. Till all the pit with sand and mane was a thunderous smother. Pit means the area where the lions were fighting. Mane, and all the pit with sand and mane. Mane is the long hair around the lion's neck. So these long hairs are known as mane. Smother means a state of being covered or overwhelmed. Okay. So thunderous smother. So whenever smother means everything that has been covered. So the entire fighting area was filled with sand and the lion's manes, which was creating a chaotic and a thunderous scene. I'll read the lines and the word meanings again, you'll understand. Till, till, matlab jab tak. All the pit, the area where the lions were fighting, was filled with sand. Sand and mane. Mane is the hair of lions, these long hairs. So the entire fighting area was filled with sand and the lions' manes, and was in a thunderous smother. Since they were fighting, there was sand all around mane and smother, everything that state of being covered or overwhelmed. So it was creating a chaotic and thunderous scene. So what's the analysis? The overwhelming chaos in the pit mirrors the high stakes of the spectacle and foreshadows the ensuing challenge. Okay, it is shadowing the challenge that is coming up. Okay, mirrors the high stake मतलब बताता है. Overwhelming chaos बता रहा है in the pit. क्या बता रहा है? क्या mirror कर रहा है? The high stake of the spectacle. Next lines. The bloody foam above the bars. The bloody foam above the bars came whizzing through the air. Okay. Now what does bloody foam mean here? Bloody foam means a mixture of blood and saliva that is coming out of the mouth. You can see here in the picture. Okay. A mixture of blood and saliva is bloody foam. Now above the bars. What is bars here? The barriers. Can you see here these barriers? Okay. Containing the lions. The barriers containing the lions. So the bloody foam above the bars came whizzing through the air. Whizzing means moving swiftly through the air. Now let's understand the explanation. The mixture of blood and saliva from the lion's mouth was flying swiftly through the air above the barriers. The explanation is clear. Now analysis. The graphic description heightens the sense of danger and brutality, setting the stage again for a dramatic and risky act. So in all these lines, these lines are setting a stage for dramatic and risky act. You can use these lines in almost every analysis here. So this picture clearly shows everything. Blood and saliva, the barriers. Okay, let's move ahead. Said Francis then. Now the king is saying something. Said Francis then, faith, gentlemen, we are better here than there. So faith means a mild oath or expression of emphasis. So what does the king, what is the explanation? The King Francis remarked or said to the gentlemen that they were better off watching from their safe positions than being in the dangerous pit with the lions. Right? So the king is saying कि faith, भरोसा, है ना? It's a mild oath. The king is saying, giving a mild oath or emphasizing that, gentlemen, we are better here. We are better off here, watching from this safe position, than being there in the dangerous pit with the lions. Now, what does it mean? Analysis. The king's remark underscores the peril of the situation and his awareness of the risk involved. So the king knows there is risk involved. Okay, so it underscores the peril of the situation. Now, the Lord's love overheard the king, a beauteous, lively dame. Beauteous means very beautiful. Lively means full of life and energy. And dame, here dame means a woman often of high rank. So whenever a noble woman of a high rank is there, we call them dame. Okay. Now, in this line, count the Lord's beloved. The Lord's love. So count the Lord's beloved. A beautiful and energetic lady overheard the king's remark when the king said that we are better off here at a safe place. So this dame, the Lord's love, overheard the king. So now here in this line, it is introducing the lady's reaction. It adds a personal and emotional dimension, setting the stage for her challenge. Now this is setting the stage for her challenge. Now let's see. With smiling lips and sharp bright eyes, which always seemed the same. These are the lines. Now here, sharp. What does sharp mean here? Sharp means keen or perceptive. Here in these lines, sharp means very keen or who's making up some perception, who's making up some thoughts of her own. So she had a constant smile and keen bright eyes that never changed. Okay, this is the meaning of these two lines. So her unwavering demeanor suggested confidence and determination. So why they have used they seemed the same, it means she is very confident. Her demeanor is always unwavering, it is not wavering. Okay, so she is very confident. So this is hinting at her forthcoming bold action. Now you will study forthcoming, she is going to take a very bold action. So these two lines are hinting at her forthcoming bold action. She thought, the Count, my lover, is brave as brave can be. Here it means she believed. She thought means she believed that Count de Lorge, her lover, was as brave as anyone could be. Okay? As brave can be means as brave as anyone could be. Now this line reveals her high expectations and faith in her lover's bravery, foreshadowing her test of his love. Okay, so here it is showing that she has full faith or high expectation in her lover's bravery, and which is foreshadowing her test of his love. So let's see. He surely would do wondrous things to show his love of me. So here in the previous lines, these lines were foreshadowing her test of his love. She thought that he is so brave that now I can test his love. So he surely would do wondrous things to show his love of me. Okay, so wondrous means wondrous things. Wondrous means marvelous or astonishing. So she was sure that he would perform extraordinary feats. Wondrous things ki jagah they have used extraordinary feats to demonstrate, to show, to demonstrate his love for her. Okay. So her confidence in his love and bravery highlights her vanity and the upcoming test significance. So she has so much confidence in his love and bravery. Okay, and this is highlighting her vanity and the upcoming test significance. What is vanity? Whenever anyone is taking excessive pride in anything. Okay, so whenever excessive pride in or admiration of one's own appearance or achievements. So whenever someone takes excessive, more than required pride, okay, in admiration of one's appearance or one's achievements. That is called vanity. मतलब फालतू में इतराना. That is called vanity basically. So kings, ladies, lovers all look on. The occasion is divine. So here the king, ladies, lovers, they are all looking on the divine occasion. Okay, the king, ladies and lovers all watched. It was a perfect and grand occasion. So this line sets the stage for a dramatic act emphasizing the importance of the spectacle and the moment. Okay, that's a easy line. I'll drop my glove. So she removed her glove and she's thinking or she's saying that I'll drop my glove to prove his love. Great glory will be mine. So she's expecting or she's thinking that if she drops her glove to prove her love and her lover will jump and go and get the glove, then she's thinking that great glory will be mine. So she decided to drop her glove as a test of his love, believing that it would bring her grand honor. So she is believing that this act will bring her great honor. So her decision reveals her vanity and the desire for public recognition. It is revealing her vanity, her nature of how she wants big things, and her desire for public recognition, setting up the pivotal action of the poem. So this is the pivotal action of the poem and this has been set here in these two lines. Okay, just a second. So I'll again give you the meaning of vanity because it's important. It is excessive pride in or admiration of one's own appearance or achievements. So now she has removed the glove. Now let's see. She dropped her glove to prove his love, then looked at him and smiled. So she dropped her glove intentionally and smiled at him. Him means her love. Okay, Count de Lodge, expecting him to prove his love by retrieving it, by bringing it back. So this act tests his devotion and bravery, creating the tension and anticipation for his response. So these lines are creating tension and anticipation for his response. Everyone, and the readers, even the readers are now waiting in anticipation for his response. He bowed. So he bowed. He lowered his head, bowed like this, and in a moment leaped among the lions wild. So leaped means jumped. So he bowed and quickly jumped into the pit with the wild lions. So what is the analysis? His swift and courageous action demonstrates his willingness to risk his life, which is highlighting his bravery. Right? The leap was quick. Return was quick. He has regained his place. Very important lines. He made the leap quickly. He made the jump very quickly and returned just as swiftly. And he returned also very quickly, reclaiming his position. He regained or reclaimed his place. So he quickly jumped, quickly came back and sat in his position. So what does it mean? The analysis: his efficient and successful retrieval of the glove underscores his skills and bravery, raising the stakes for his reaction. So he was very quick in jumping and coming back. So for jumping it's showing bravery, for coming back so quickly it's showing his skill. Okay. Then threw the glove, but not with love, right in the lady's face. So he jumped and he brought the glove back, but then he threw the glove on lady's face. Okay, and not with love. So he threw the glove back at the lady, but without any affection, without love, directly into her face. What does it show? His rejection of the glove symbolizes his disdain for her, vanity, okay, and the superficial test of love. challenging societal expectations. So he rejected the glove. He's throwing away the glove on her face means his rejection of glove. This symbolizes his disdain. He's not liking it for her vanity. Disdain for what? For her vanity and the superficial test of love. ऊपर का जो superficial test था ना, which was done for challenging the societal expectations which he didn't like. Okay. By heaven, said Francis. Now again the king is coming into picture. By heaven, said Francis, rightly done. And he rose from where he sat. So heaven means a mild oath or expression of emphasis here. Okay. So the King Francis exclaimed or said that it was the right thing to do. By heaven, said Francis. So it's a expression of emphasis or a mild oath what the king says, that by heaven, exclaimed Francis, that it was the right thing to do, and stood up from his seat. He stood up from his seat. Now let's see the analysis. The king's approval validates the count's rejection of the test. These lines are very important, my dear students. The king approved, the king said rightly done, and he rose from his seat, right? So the king's approval has validated the count's action. He has validated, he said okay, you have done it correct, आपने validation दे दिया उसको, right? The king's approval validated the count's rejection of the test, which emphasizes what? On the moral story, on the moral of the poem, which emphasizing the moral lesson about true love and valor. This was emphasizing the moral lesson about true love and valor, that true love will never send his or her lover into danger. No love, quoth he, but vanity sets love a task like that. So he's quoth he मतलब कहा उन्होंने, he said, right? Quoth means said. So whenever quoth is used, it is an archaic word, means something that is related to people of higher authority, and some great personality. Whenever they say something, means they quote something, right? We don't use it quote for common people much. So quote means said. Vanity, again I am explaining vanity, excessive pride in one's appearance or achievements. So he said no love but vanity. So only this excessive pride and not love will set love a task like that. So he's saying, he stated that it was not love but vanity that would set such a task to prove love. So the final line reinforces the poem's message that true love does not require dangerous or superficial tests, critiquing the lady's vanity, and this is criticizing the lady's vanity, that is excessive pride, right? So this last line is very important. You should understand each and every word meaning here. So in the end, I will give you an overall short summary of the poem. So in the poem, a lady tests her love's bravery and devotion by dropping her glove among fighting lions, expecting him to retrieve it. The lover, Count de Lodge, retrieves the glove but throws it back at her, showing disdain for the vanity behind the test. Now King Francis commends the Count's action, highlighting that true love does not require such tests of vanity. Now, students, the poem critiques the superficiality of such tests and celebrates genuine courage and integrity. Hello everyone and welcome once again to Zenith Academy Online. Today we are doing a very amazing poem, When Great Trees Fall, from ICSE Class 10 curriculum. And in this video we'll be doing the detailed line by line explanation and also the analysis of each and every line. So let's begin. Before starting, let me tell you, I'll be explaining this in Hindi as well, so that you have a clear understanding of the poem, understanding of each and every line. I'll give you good vocabulary words. I'll give you the explanation in English as well, so that you write very well and score very good in your exams. And I'll also give you the analysis. So watch the video till the end, make notes and score very high in your ICSE English examination. So let's begin. The first stanza of our poem. When great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder, lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants lumber after safety. So that's the first stanza. When great trees fall, ना जब बहुत बड़े जो trees है वो fall होते हैं, जब गिरते हैं. Rocks on distant hills मतलब दूर जो hills है उनके भी rocks shudder करते हैं. Shudder means they tremble means जब हम कांपते हैं ना डर से, उसे tremble या shudder कहते हैं. Lions hunker down means crouch low, they crouch low, ना डर नीचे हो जाते हैं. जब भी बिजली वगैरह चमकती है तो we crouch low, we hunker down. Where do they hunker down? In tall grasses. And even elephants, और elephants भी, यहाँ इन्होंने वर्ड यूज किया है even मतलब elephants भी. और ये एक एम्फेसाइज कर रहा है, ये एक स्ट्रेस डाल रहा है कि यहाँ तक कि हाथी भी. लंबर आफ्टर सेफ्टी, लंबर मीन्स मूव करना, है ना, एकदम स्लोली मूव करना है ना, जैसे कि आप बहुत हैवी बॉडी वाले हो, है ना, जब भी कोई इंसान एक ऑकवर्ड वे में मूव करता है स्लोली स्लोली तो उसे कहते हैं लंबर. सो लेट्स understand. So that's the explanation. The poet uses vivid imagery to depict the significant impact of fall of great trees. एक बहुत significant impact बता रहा है great trees के fall होने का. This disturbance मतलब जब एक great tree fall हुआ था ये disturbance create हुआ. This disturbance causes even distant rocks to tremble. जो बहुत दूर है distant hills पे वो भी tremble हुआ है. And mighty animals like lions, है ना, and elephants to seek safety. So whenever this stanza is given, you can write these lines. I have given you the word meanings as well. Now the analysis part. These lines symbolize how the loss of great figures or events can send ripples, na lehre, through the entire world, affecting even the strongest and most resilient beings. तो बच्चों यहाँ बताया तो जा रहा है कि ट्री फॉल हुआ है ना, सॉरी, बताया तो जा रहा है कि ये ट्री फॉल हुआ है, उससे दूर दराज के हिल के पत्थर भी शडर कर गए हैं, ट्रेम्बल कर गए हैं, लायंस हंकर डाउन कर गए हैं, क्राउच लो हो गए हैं लंबी लंबी ग्रासेस में, और यहाँ तक कि एलिफेंट्स भी सेफ्टी की खातिर दे हैव मूव्ड. तो एक्सप्लेनेशन पार्ट इज दिस, बट इसका एनालिसिस क्या है, ये कहाँ से कनेक्ट करना चाह रहा है पोएट कनेक्ट कर, इसको सिंबलाइज कर रहा है. ये बड़े से ट्री को किस चीज से सिंबलाइज कर रहा है कि जो बहुत ग्रेट फिगर्स होते हैं दुनिया में, है ना, ग्रेट पर्सनालिटीज होती है, कोई ऐसा इवेंट हुआ है जिसमें हमने ग्रेट फिगर्स को लूज किया है, तो उसका असर बता रहे हैं कि कैसे इस पूरी दुनिया को असर होता है. इवन जो स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट लोग होते हैं या मोस्ट रेजिलियंट बींग्स होते हैं उन सब पे को फर्क पड़ता है. अंडरस्टूड? नाउ नेक्स्ट आंसर. व्हेन ग्रेट ट्रीज फॉल इन फॉरेस्ट्स, small things recoil into silence, their senses eroded beyond fear. ना, तो जब ग्रेट ट्रीज फॉल होते हैं फॉरेस्ट में, इन द फॉरेस्ट, स्मॉल जो छोटी छोटी चीजें होती हैं, दे रिकॉइल इनटू साइलेंस. रिकॉइल मतलब ड्रॉबैक, जैसे हम एक स्प्रिंग होती है वो रिकॉइल कैसे हो जाती है, वापस पीछे आ जाती है ना, तो जो छोटी छोटी चीज होती है वो अंदर अपने घुस जाती है, दे ड्रॉप देमसेल्व्स बैक. देयर सेंसेस इरोडेड बियॉन्ड फियर, जो उनके सेंसेस होते हैं, जो उनके सोचने समझने की क्षमता होती है ना, वो इरोड, दे गेट वॉर्न अवे, फट जाते हैं, थक जाते हैं, बियॉन्ड फियर, राइट. So explanation part is the falling of great trees in forest create a profound silence among smaller creatures. Their senses are dulled, dull हो जाते हैं, है ना, worn out हो जाते हैं, eroded जो word use किया है. Their senses are dulled and overwhelmed, going beyond fear, मतलब हद हो जाती है ना, fear की भी हद हो जाती है, fear से भी beyond चले गए, going beyond fear to a state of numbness, है ना, एकदम numbness आ जाती है. So that is the literal meaning of these lines. Now the analysis. This represents how the passing of significant individuals, अगर कोई significant individuals दुनिया से चले गए हैं या उनकी डेथ हो जाती है या कोई ऐसा इंसिडेंट हो जाता है, how the passing of significant individuals can leave those who looked upon up to them, है ना, इसलिए स्मॉल क्रिएचर्स बोला है कि जब बड़े ऐसे सिग्निफिकेंट इंडिविजुअल्स मर जाते हैं या दे पास अवे, हाउ इट लीव्स दोस छोटे क्रिएचर्स कौन, who looked up to them in a state of shock and silence, ना, वो देखते हैं कि यार ये क्या हो गया, इट इज स्टेट ऑफ शॉक एंड साइलेंस फॉर देम, दे आर नॉट एबल टू रिएक्ट, उन्हें समझ नहीं आता है कि अब क्या होगा, दे आर अनएबल टू रिएक्ट और कॉम्प्रीहेंड, उसका मतलब नहीं निकाल पाते कि अब आगे क्या होगा, एंड एंड कॉम्प्रीहेंड व्हाट, द मैग्नीट्यूड ऑफ द लॉस, कितना बड़ा लॉस हो गया है, उस चीज को कॉम्प्रीहेंड ही नहीं कर पाते हैं वो लोग, समझ आया? सो व्हेन ग्रेट ट्रीज फॉल इन फॉरेस्ट्स, स्मॉल थिंग्स रिकॉइल इनटू साइलेंस, देयर सेंसेस इरोडेड बियॉन्ड फियर। जब ग्रेट ट्रीज फॉल होते हैं फॉरेस्ट में, एक प्रोफाउंड साइलेंस क्रिएट हो जाता है छोटे छोटे क्रिएचर्स में, और उनके सेंसेस डल हो जाते हैं, दे गेट ओवरवेल्म्ड गोइंग बियॉन्ड फियर टू अ स्टेट ऑफ नंबनेस। When great souls die, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly. Sterile का क्या मतलब होता है? जो बैरन होती है, जिसमें कोई लाइफ नहीं होती है, जिससे कुछ उग नहीं सकता है, ठीक है? सो व्हेन ग्रेट सोल्स डाई, जब ग्रेट सोल्स मर जाते हैं, तो हमारे आसपास की जो हवा है, हवा से यहाँ एनवायरमेंट बताया गया है, the air around us becomes light, rare, sterile. We breathe briefly, छोटे छोटे breaths लेते हैं हम. So the death of great souls makes the atmosphere feel empty, है ना, खालीपन आ जाता है. That's why we say it is light. Atmosphere feels empty and lifeless. It becomes sterile. Rare क्या होता है? जो बहुत कम मिलता है. तो that is why empty और lifeless से उसको connect किया गया है. People are left gasping for breath. क्योंकि वो ऐसे स्टेट ऑफ शॉक में होते हैं कि दे आर लेफ्ट ग्रास्पिंग फॉर ब्रेथ, दैट इज वाई दे आर ब्रीदिंग ब्रीफली, फीलिंग द वेट ऑफ द लॉस इन द वेरी एयर दे ब्रीथ. सो यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड इफ समवन नियर यू, समवन वेरी क्लोज टू यू डाइज, हाउ यू फील, है ना, सांस नहीं आती है, हमें एक हावीपन लगता है ना, किस चीज का हावीपन, जो लॉस हुआ है उसका हावीपन, और हमारे आसपास की जो एनवायरमेंट है, जो हवा है, उसमें दैट फील्स एम्प्टी, उसमें हमें खालीपन लगता है और लाइफलेस लगती है वो, कि जैसे जिंदगी रुक गई हो. सो एनालिसिस इज, द पोएट emphasizes the profound impact of losing great individuals, likening it to an alteration in the very essence of life and environment around us. तो यहाँ पोएट ने लिखा तो ट्रीज के बारे में है ना, लेकिन वो कनेक्ट और उनको कर रहा है लूजिंग ग्रेट इंडिविजुअल्स से. लेट्स सी द नेक्स्ट स्टैंजा. Our eyes briefly see with hurtful clarity. Our memory, suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. ठीक है, तो हमारी आंखें भी थोड़ा ब्रीफली देख सकती है, एक हर्टफुल क्लैरिटी, है ना, हर्ट हुआ है लेकिन क्लियर हम देख सकते हैं, हम उनकी पिछली बातें याद करते हैं, हमारी मेमोरी अचानक से शार्पन हो जाती है, हम एग्जामिन करते हैं, एंड वी ग्नाउज ऑन काइंड वर्ड्स, मतलब बाइट्स, चबाना, है ना, हमें याद आते हैं जो काइंड वर्ड्स उन्होंने कहे थे, ठीक है, या नहीं कहे थे. ग्नाउज ऑन काइंड वर्ड्स अनसेड, अगर हम उनसे कुछ अच्छी बातें ना कह पाए, है ना, जैसे जाते जाते सोचो कि कोई एक बहुत क्लोज इंसान अचानक से उनकी डेथ हो गई, तो कुछ बातें ऐसी अनकही होती है जो हम नहीं कह सकते, तो हम उससे, जब उनकी डेथ हो जाती है तो वी बाइट एट दोज काइंड वर्ड्स, तो वी से ग्नॉज ऑन काइंड वर्ड्स which were unsaid, maybe we didn't say or they didn't say. Promised walks never taken, maybe we had promised certain things to them which we didn't do, maybe they have promised certain things which they couldn't do, right? So I'll read the stanza again. Our eyes briefly see with a hurtful clarity, our memory suddenly sharpened, examines, gnaws on kind words unsaid, promised walks never taken. So in the wake of such loss, people experience a moment of painful clarity where they regret the things left undone and unsaid. Memories become sharply focused on missed opportunities and unfulfilled promises. So you can write these words and score good. This is a very amazingly written explanation of this. And now if we want to analyze this stanza, this highlights the theme of regret and the importance of expressing love and fulfilling those promises while there is still time. So that's the analysis. ये क्या highlight कर रहा है? ये stanza क्या highlight कर रहा है? It is highlighting the theme of regret and the importance of expressing love and fulfilling those promises जब तक की time है ना? Let's go ahead. Great souls die, and our reality, bound to them, takes leave of us. Our souls, dependent upon their nurture, shrink, wisen. अब हम यहाँ देखते हैं ग्रेट सोल्स डाई एंड आर रियलिटी बाउंड टू देम, हमारी जो रियलिटी उनके साथ जो बाउंडेड है वो हमसे दूर चली जाती है, टेक्स लीव ऑफ अस. आर सोल्स, हमारे जो सोल है जो उन पे डिपेंडेंट थे, जो उनके नर्चर पे डिपेंडेंट थे, है ना, दे नाउ श्रिंक एंड वाइजन. वाइजन मतलब रिंकल हो जाता है, श्रिवल्ड हो जाता है. सो हियर what's the explanation of this? When great souls pass away, our sense of reality which was tied to them, है ना, हमारी जो सच्चाई उनके साथ बंधी हुई थी, मे बी हमारे जो भी रिलेटिव थे वो, है ना, वो सच्चाई भी खत्म हो जाती है ना. our sense of reality also finishes. The nurturing influence जो उन्होंने हमें, उनका नर्चरिंग इन्फ्लुएंस उन्होंने हमें प्रोवाइड किया था, द नर्चरिंग इन्फ्लुएंस दे प्रोवाइडेड लीव्स आर सोल, हमारे सोल को छोड़ के चला जाता है. और हमारा सोल कैसा हो जाता है जब कोई चीज़ चली जाती है बाहर, जैसे कि हम देखें कि अंगूर में से जब पानी बाहर निकल जाता है तो वो कैसे श्रिंक हो जाता है, तो उसी तरीके से हमारा सोल भी श्रिंक हो जाता है जब वो नर्चर देने वाला ही इंसान नहीं रहा है, उनका जो नर्चरिंग इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं रहा है, राइट. So this conveys the idea that guidance and support of great individuals are crucial to our well-being. हमारी well-being के लिए क्या ज़रूरी है, जो हमारे सोल को उन्होंने नर्चर किया था, उनके इन्फ्लुएंस ने नर्चर किया था. बेसिकली नर्चरिंग इज नॉट, दे डिड नॉट फीड अस, हमारे सोल को क्या फीड किया गया था, उनका इन्फ्लुएंस, उनका नर्चरिंग इन्फ्लुएंस, right. So this conveys the idea that guidance and support of great individuals are very crucial, very important for our well-being, and their absence, जब उनकी absence हो जाती है, it leaves us feeling lesser and lost. Our minds formed and informed by their radiance fall away. We are not so much maddened as reduced to an unutterable ignorance of dark, cold caves. यहाँ रेडियंस का मतलब है, यहाँ जब हम यहाँ बात करें रेडियंस एंड इन्फॉर्म्ड बाय द रेडियंस, रेडियंस मीन्स लाइट और हीट एमिटेड और रिफ्लेक्टेड, जो उनकी रोशनी थी, है ना, कोई एक ग्रेट इंडिविजुअल्स की जो ऑरा होता है ना, जो उनकी चमक होती है, जो हमें दिखती नहीं है बट दैट्स रेडियंस, जो वो एमिट करते हैं, जो वाइब्रेशंस, जो फ्रीक्वेंसी वो एमिट करते हैं, ठीक है. एंड अनअटरेबल मतलब जिसे हम कह नहीं सकते, वी कैन नॉट अटर, वी कैन नॉट से, है ना, टू ग्रेट टू बी एक्सप्रेस इन वर्ड्स, वर्ड्स से नहीं निकाल सकते हैं. तो इसका मीनिंग क्या है, द विजडम एंड नॉलेज इम्पार्टेड बाय ग्रेट सोल्स इल्यूमिनेट आवर माइंड्स, हमारे माइंड्स को रोशनी देते हैं. इन देयर एब्सेंस वी आर नॉट ड्रिवन मैड बट आर रिड्यूस्ड टू अ स्टेट ऑफ इग्नोरेंस एंड डार्कनेस. तो हम, वी आर नॉट सो मच मैडेंड, है ना, हम पागल नहीं हो जाते हैं, लेकिन हमारा जो स्टेट ऑफ माइंड है, मतलब उनके एब्सेंस से मैड नहीं होते, बट हमारा जो स्टेट ऑफ माइंड है इट इज रिड्यूस्ड टू अ स्टेट ऑफ इग्नोरेंस एंड डार्कनेस, क्योंकि अब उनकी रेडियंस नहीं रही है, उनकी चमक नहीं रही है जो कि हमारे माइंड को इल्यूमिनेट करे, हमारे माइंड को रोशन करे. समझ आया? मैं फिर से एक बार रिपीट कर रही हूँ. आर माइंड्स फॉर्म्ड एंड इन्फॉर्म्ड बाय देयर रेडियंस, हमारे जो माइंड को फॉर्म हुआ है और जो इन्फॉर्म किया गया है उनकी रेडियंस से, मतलब उन्होंने हमें नॉलेज इम्पार्ट की है, राइट, इट फॉल्स अवे, ये रुक जाती है. वी आर नॉट सो मच मैडेंड एज रिड्यूस टू अनअटरेबल इग्नोरेंस ऑफ डार्क कोल्ड केव्स. तो इग्नोरेंस को इन्होंने रिलेट किया है या किससे कंपेयर किया है, डार्क कोल्ड केव्स के जैसा. समझ आया? Now let's see the analysis part. The poet illustrates the profound intellectual and emotional loss experienced when influential figures pass away, leaving a void, एक खालीपन जो रह जाता है, that plunges us into a metaphorical darkness. तो एक ये मेटाफॉर दिया है darkness का यहाँ पे, ठीक है, कि जो इंटेलेक्चुअल और इमोशनल लॉस हुआ है, जो हम एक्सपीरियंस कर रहे हैं जब इन्फ्लुएंशियल फिगर पास अवे हो जाते हैं, it leaves a void inside us and we plunge into a metaphorical darkness. ऐसा लगता है कि हम एक केव, अंधेरी गुफा में चले गए हैं. That is ignorance of dark. And when great souls die, after a period peace blooms. है ना, जब great soul die हो जाते हैं, after a period, कुछ टाइम के बाद peace फिर से आ जाती है. After a period peace blooms, slowly and always irregularly. Spaces fill with a kind of soothing electric vibration. है ना, irregular का मतलब है not at regular intervals. So after the initial period of mourning, जब एक थोड़ा समय बीत जाता है, किसी की डेथ हो गई है और इनिशियल पीरियड जब चले गए हैं, है ना, 3-4 दिन हो गए हैं, थोड़ा और टाइम पास हो गया है, तो जब मॉर्निंग का पीरियड खत्म हो गया है, आपको ऐसा फील नहीं होता है कि इवेंचुअली आपके अंदर सब्र आ जाता है ना, सब्र आ जाता है. सो पीस इवेंचुअली बिगिंस टू रिटर्न. फिर से पीस आ जाती है, हमारी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी चलने लगती है. दो इट इज अ स्लो एंड अनइवन प्रोसेस, है ना, धीरे धीरे होता है ये, और कभी उनकी बहुत याद आती है ना, कभी कभी बहुत ज्यादा लगता है कि वी आर मिसिंग दैट, कभी हमारी नॉर्मल लाइफ में हम बिजी हो जाते हैं, इसलिए अनइवन प्रोसेस है, इसलिए बोला है इरेगुलर. The emptiness left behind starts to fill with a new comforting presence. ये जो emptiness हो गई है उनके जाने से, किसी और की comforting presence से, किसी और के आने से वो comfort हमें मिलने लगता है. I'll repeat. And when great souls die, after a period peace blooms. फिर से bloom होना मतलब खिलना, है ना, पीस फिर से आ जाती है. स्लोली एंड ऑलवेज, इरेगुलरली, है ना, कभी स्लोली तो है ही बट हमेशा इरेगुलर होती है. स्पेसेस फिल मतलब ये बोल रहा है कि फिर से किसी और, कोई और ये जगह ले लेता है. विथ अ काइंड ऑफ सूदिंग इलेक्ट्रिक वाइब्रेशन, ऐसा लगता है कि एक सूदिंग इलेक्ट्रिक वाइब्रेशन आ रहा है ना, किसी का कंफर्टिंग प्रेजेंस आना इज सूदिंग इलेक्ट्रिक वाइब्रेशन. दिस रिफ्लेक्ट्स द हीलिंग प्रोसेस. अब ये स्टेंजा का एनालिसिस जब हम करेंगे तो अब ये हीलिंग प्रोसेस पे आ गया है. सो दिस रिफ्लेक्ट्स द हीलिंग प्रोसेस फॉलोइंग अ सिग्निफिकेंट लॉस. आफ्टर अ सिग्निफिकेंट लॉस जो एक हीलिंग प्रोसेस होता है वो बता रहा है. वेयर ग्रेजुअली a sense of peace and new normalcy begins to take hold. नई जो पहले जैसा नॉर्मल लाइफ चालू हो जाती है. So a sense of peace and new normalcy begins to take hold. Our senses restored, never to be the same, whisper to us, they existed, they existed. We can be and be better, for they existed. तो जब हम रिकवर करते हैं, ये क्या कहना चाह रहा है, एज वी रिकवर आवर सेंसेस, दो चेंज, माना कि किसी के जाने से हम के थोड़े टाइम बाद वापस सेम वैसे नहीं हो जाते, है ना, हमारे सेंसेस रिकवर होते हैं लेकिन थोड़ा बहुत चेंज आता है ना. आवर सेंसेस रेस्टोर्ड, नेवर टू बी द सेम बट दे रेस्टोर. पहले जैसा एग्जैक्टली नहीं हो जाते बट इट रेस्टोर्स, राइट. इट विस्पर्स टू अस, ये हमें क्या कहता है कि वो एग्जिस्ट करते थे, है ना. रिमाइंडर्स, विस्पर करना मतलब हमें कहना, रिमाइंड करना. रिमाइंडर्स ऑफ द एग्जिस्टेंस ऑफ दोज ग्रेट सोल्स. देन they are saying they existed, we can be and be better for they existed. हम हो सकते हैं, है ना, और बेहतर क्योंकि उन्होंने एग्जिस्ट किया था, क्योंकि उन्होंने हमारी लाइफ पे इन्फ्लुएंस किया था. देयर लेगेसी इंस्पायर अस टू स्ट्राइव टू बी बेटर बिकॉज दे वंस वर पार्ट ऑफ आवर लाइव्स. आई होप यू हैव अंडरस्टूड दिस किड्स. So the analysis, the poet concludes with a message of hope and inspiration, urging us to honor the memory of great individuals by continuing to grow and improve. How? By getting influenced by their legacy. तो पोएट एक मैसेज दे रहा है होप और इंस्पिरेशन का, है ना. हमें कह रहा है कि उनकी मेमोरी, वो जो ग्रेट पीपल थे, ग्रेट इंडिविजुअल थे, उनकी मेमोरी को ऑनर करो आप, है ना. कैसे आप ऑनर कर पाओगे? टू कंटिन्यू टू ग्रो, आप ग्रो करो, है ना, इम्प्रूव करते जाओ, ग्रो करते जाओ, क्योंकि आप किससे इन्फ्लुएंस्ड हो? उनकी लेगेसी से, जो वो पीछे छोड़ के गए हैं, उनका जो एग्जिस्टेंस था, उनकी जो सीख थी, उन्होंने जो हमें सिखाया था. Right, so we'll just go through the summary and we'll just reflect upon the poem. So the poem When Great Trees Fall by Maya Angelou explores the profound impact of losing influential figures. Through vivid imagery and emotional depth, the poem conveys the themes of loss, regret, and then eventual healing. It encourages the readers to cherish and honor the memories of those who have made a significant impact on their lives.
Hello my dear students and welcome once again to Zenith Academy Online. Today we are doing a very important poem for ICSE class 9 and 10, that is A Considerable Speck by Robert Frost. Now students, this is very important from your board exam point of view. So let's begin. I'll explain each and every word and we'll understand line wise. So let me first read out stanza 1 for you. A speck that would have been beneath my sight, on any but a paper sheet so white, set off across what I had written there, and I had idly poised my pen in air, to stop it with a period of ink, when something strange about it made me think. This was no dust speck by my breathing blown, but unmistakably a living might, with inclinations it could call its own. So let's talk about the first line. A speck that would have been beneath my sight. So first let's read how I will go about. I will read each and every line. We'll understand the important word meanings. I'll explain that line and we'll do analysis of that line as well, so that it becomes very easy for you to answer all the questions that come in board exams. So first line, a speck that would have been beneath my sight. What does speck mean? Speck means a very small mark or piece, or any very small amount is also called speck. So what does it mean? The poet describes a tiny speck that is so small it would normally be unnoticeable. No? Normally जब देखते तो वो नहीं दिखता था. It would have been beneath my sight. So the word beneath my sight suggests that the poet wouldn't have seen it under normal circumstances, and this foreshadows the idea that small things often go unnoticed unless observed closely. The second line says, on any but a paper sheet so white. It means the poet sees the tiny speck only because it appears against a white sheet of paper. So what does the poet mean to say by it? The contrast between the dark speck and the white paper emphasizes its visibility. Symbolically, the paper could represent a blank slate or stage for careful observation, much like how small details in life are only noticed in certain conditions. So students, if you know the line, the exact literal meaning of it, and what does the poet want to emphasize by saying that, everything is there. Okay, so please make proper notes, okay, or take the screenshots and learn this very well. Okay, so when he says on any but a paper sheet so white, he means to emphasize its visibility. How small details in life are only noticed in certain conditions. Now set off across what I had written there. So the speck starts moving across the paper where the poet had already written something. Read the line carefully. Set off across what I had written there. So the speck starts moving across the paper where the poet had already written something. Analysis. The movement of the speck interrupts the poet's writing, suggesting that nature can disrupt human activities. It also hints at the theme of the unexpected awareness. A small thing can capture attention in a significant way. So poet wants to suggest that nature can disrupt human activities the way the speck set off across what he had written. And I had idly poised my pen in air. What does idly mean? Idly means doing nothing or without any particular purpose, just, you know. And poised means not moving but ready to move, about to do something. So ready to act or about to do something is poised. So the line says, and I had idly poised my pen in air. हवा में मेरी पेन ऐसे ही मैंने पॉज करके रखी थी. आई वॉज नॉट डूइंग एनीथिंग, बट ऐसे पॉज थी कि बस अब लिखूंगा, राइट. सो द पोएट पॉजेज वाइल राइटिंग, holding his pen in the air without moving. So the word ideally suggests that thoughtlessness or acting without much concern. This moment is significant because it shows the poet's initial indifference towards the speck, which will soon change. So this is the initial indifference that the poet has towards the speck, which will soon change in the coming lines. To stop it with a period of ink. So if you connect the fourth line, and I had idly poised my pen in air I had poised my pen. To stop it with a period of ink. So he wanted to stop the might. So read here, the poet intends to crush the speck with a dot of ink from his pen. Okay. Now what do you mean by period of ink? Okay. Period, it conveys a sense of decisiveness and that the matter is closed. So whenever someone says something, okay, or makes a statement and says period, it means the person who is saying that or writing that doesn't want any other further discussion. It means the matter has ended there. Correct? That is period in English. So here, if you read the line, to stop it with a period of ink, the poet intends to crush the speck with a dot of ink from his pen. This shows an instinctive human reaction to eliminate something small and insignificant without thinking much about it. However, the use of period of ink cleverly plays on punctuation. A period as in writing and a literal ink drop, reinforcing the connection between the act of writing and the poet's realization. So, the poet wants to stop it with a period of ink. Now, when something strange about it made me think. Okay. The poet hesitates. Now here the poet is hesitating. When something strange about it made me think. The poet hesitates because he notices something unusual about the speck. Okay. When something strange, that is unusual about it, made me think. Now this is the turning point in the stanza. Now instead of acting without thought, instead of putting a drop of ink on it, the poet is now curious and begins to reflect. This shift from the instinct to do that to contemplation is a key theme in Frost's poetry. So here there is a shift from instinct to contemplation. Now he is curious about something unusual that he has noticed. This was no dust speck by my breathing blown. So the poet realizes that the speck is not just a piece of dust moved by his breath. So if he's breathing and there's a speck of dust, earlier he now thought, okay, now this is something that is living. This is not just dust speck by my breathing. Okay. So the phrase by my breathing blown suggests that at first he assumed it was insignificant and passive. Okay. However, this realization shows a change in perception. Now earlier he was thinking that this speck is insignificant and passive, but now there is a change in perception as he acknowledges that it might be something more than an inanimate particle. It might be something more than a non-living particle, but unmistakably a living might. But now he is saying, so connect the line, this was no dust speck by my breathing blown, but unmistakably a living might. So the poet recognizes that the speck is actually a living creature, a tiny mite, that is a small insect. So the analysis is, the word unmistakably indicates certainty, for sure. This moment marks the poet's shift in awareness. Now there is a shift in awareness of poet. He now sees the mite as a life form rather than just an object. Now, what ninth is with inclinations it could call its own. So the poet acknowledges that the mite has its own will, instincts and purpose. Now this is a profound realization. The phrase inclination it could call its own suggests that individuality and autonomy, even in something as tiny as a mite. So now there is a profound realization by the poet. This phrase inclinations it could call its own suggests individuality and autonomy even in something as tiny as a mite. The poet now sees the creature as a small but significant being with its own choices, making him reconsider his earlier impulse to destroy it. So now after this realization, now he is reconsidering his earlier impulse. पहले जो उसको impulse हुआ था, अचानक से जो reaction हुआ था कि मैं उसको इंक का ड्रॉप गिरा दूँ, राइट? सो नाउ ही इज सेइंग कि इसके खुद के अपने इंक्लिनेशंस हो सकते हैं. He sees the creature as a small but significant being with its own choices. Okay, so key takeaways from stanza 1. The main idea of stanza 1 was the poet starts by seeing a tiny speck as insignificant but soon realizes that it is a living mite with its own purpose. Theme: the importance of not dismissing small things in life. This is the theme. The importance of not dismissing the small things in life. How even the tiniest creatures deserve attention and respect. Now let's talk about the literary devices used. There is imagery used in stanza 1. The contrast between the speck and the white paper shows the imagery. Symbolism: the mite represents small but meaningful existences. Irony: what's the irony here? A considerable speck. Okay, so speck is such small thing, but here considerable. So there is an irony. Speck to chota hai, but considerable. So a considerable speck, something tiny, turns out to be quite important. Now personification: the mite is given inclinations. We said he has inclinations of its own. So as if it has a mind of its own. So there is personification. So this stanza sets up the poem's overall message, thoughtfulness and respect for even the smallest of beings. Let's move to paragraph 2 or stanza 2. It paused as with suspicion of my pen and then came racing wildly on again, to where my manuscript was not yet dry, then paused again and either drank or smelt. With loathing for again it turned to fly. Plainly with an intelligence I dealt, it seemed too tiny to have room for feet, yet must have had a set of them complete, to express how much it didn't want to die. So let's read the first line. It paused as with suspicion of my pen. So the mite stops moving as if it is cautious or fearful of the poet's pen. It paused as if it's suspicion, shak of my pen. The mite stops moving as if it is cautious or fearful of the poet's pen. The word suspicion here suggests that the mite has an awareness of danger. This subtly humanizes the mite, making it seem like a thinking creature rather than just an insect. And then came racing wildly on again. So after pausing, the mite suddenly moves quickly across the page again. The phrase racing wildly shows panic or urgency, making the mite appear conscious of its surroundings and all the possible threats that it might face. To where my manuscript was not yet dry. Now students, what is manuscript? A manuscript is a page or number of pages where something is written. Okay, some fonts are written. So whenever there's some written things, that is a manuscript. So the mite, to where my manuscript was not yet dry, the mite moves towards a section of the poet's writing where the ink is still wet. He has just written and the ink is still wet, and the mite moves towards that section of the poet's writing. So this mite symbolizes the meeting of life, that is the mite, and art, that is the manuscript. So the mite's movement also disrupts the poet's writing, reinforcing the theme of unexpected small things having a big impact. Then paused again and either drank or smelt. So the mite stops once more, seemingly either drinking the ink or smelling it. The poet is observing the mite's action closely, suggesting that even this tiny creature is curious and interacting with its environment just as humans do. So it paused again and either drank or smelt. Now with loathing, for again it turned to fly. Now with loathing is connected with this line. Then paused again and either drank or smelled. He either drank or smelled the ink. With loathing. Now with disgust. Loathing is not like disliking anything very much, right? So with loathing, for again it turned to fly. The mite reacts with disgust, that is loathing, and moves away quickly. So turn to fly means moved away very quickly. So this suggests that the mite consciously rejects the ink as if it finds it unpleasant. Again, this reinforces the idea that even tiny creatures have preferences, instincts and reactions. Plainly with an intelligence I dealt. So the poet realizes that the mite is not just a mindless creature. It shows some level of intelligence as well. So this is a significant moment in the poem, as the poet now fully acknowledges the mite as a sentient being. Okay, now the poet is acknowledging him. Now the poet realizes the mite is not just a small creature, a mindless creature, but he has intelligence in it. So he acknowledges the mite as a sentient being. It challenges the assumption that only larger creatures or humans have intelligence, right? This is what we all think, that only we have intelligence. We neglect smaller creatures, but here the poet wants to emphasize on the fact that even the insignificant creatures can have intelligence and their own mind. It seemed too tiny to have room for feet. Okay, the mite seemed so tiny that the mite is so small that it's hard to imagine that it's hard to imagine it even having visible legs or feet. There's no room, no place for feet. No room for feet means it is difficult to imagine that it has feet. So the mite is so small that it's hard to imagine it even having visible legs or feet. So this line emphasizes the minuscule size of the mite, the very, very small size of the mite, making its quick movements and intelligence even more surprising. Yet must have had a set of them complete. So despite its tiny size, despite of we thinking that there is no room for the feet, despite its tiny size, the mite must have feet because it moves with purpose. The poet acknowledges that the mite, though small, is fully formed and functional, just like any other living creature. And this line highlights the complexity of even the smallest life forms. Even if it is so tiny, even if we think there's no room where there will be legs or something, right? So this highlights that even smallest life forms have all the complexities. They have all the structures in them, all the organs, all the structures that are necessary for life, for thinking. To express, okay, we'll read the 8th line again. Yet it must have had a set of them complete to express how much it didn't want to die. Okay, the mite's action, which action? Running, pausing and reacting shows its desire to survive. It didn't want to die. So there was a desire in it, in the mite, to survive. So this is a profound moment in the stanza. The poet realizes that like all living beings, the mite values its own life. This line conveys a universal truth that no matter how small all creatures have an instinct for survival, no matter how small it is. All the living creatures have this instinct for survival. So let's talk about key takeaways from this stanza. The poet closely observes the mite's movement and realizes that it is a living, thinking creature with a will to survive. Okay, that's the main idea. Now, theme for all life. Theme is respect for all life. This is the theme of this stanza. No matter how small. Respect for all life, no matter how small. The poem suggests that intelligence and survival instincts exist even in the tiny creatures. Let's talk about the literary devices that are used here. Personification. The mite suspects, loathes, and expresses. These are the three words used, giving it a human-like quality. Imagery. Okay, what's the imagery used? The detailed description of the mite's movements makes the reader visualize its struggle. Irony. The poet initially sees the mite as insignificant, but by the end he respects its intelligence and will to live. So this stanza reinforces the poem's central idea. Small things can have great significance if we observe them with care and thoughtfulness. Let's move on to our next paragraph or next stanza. So stanza 3. It ran with terror and with cunning crept. It faltered, I could see it hesitate. Then in the middle of the open sheet, cowered down in desperation to accept whatever I accorded it of fate. I have none of the tender than thou, collectivistics regimenting love with which the modern world is being swept. So it ran with terror and with cunning crept. So the mite runs in fear, in terror, and then moves cautiously, moves very carefully, cautiously. So the crept, he kept and crept. He walked as if he was creeping. Okay, and it was cunning. It means very cautiously it was doing it. The use of terror and cunning suggests that the mite is both afraid and intelligent enough, because cunning. Who are cunning? People who are intelligent, who can think cleverly. Okay, so both afraid and intelligent enough to act carefully in response to danger. The contrast between running in panic and creeping carefully highlights its survival instinct. It faltered, I could see it hesitate. Faltered, what is the meaning of faltered, students? To become very weak, to move in a way that it is not steady. Dagmagate na, dagmagana is called faltered. To become weak or move in a way that is not steady. Moving in a non-steady way. Then hesitate, you all know hesitate means to pause before you do something or before you take a decision. So usually because you are uncertain or worried about something, that is why you pause before you do something, right? So it faltered, I could see it hesitate. The mite stops for a moment. No, he faltered, डगमगाता है अपनी जगह से. He stops for a moment and he is not steady when he walks. So he's not steady and he stops. Okay, unsure of where to go next because he could see it hesitate. So faltered and hesitate suggest uncertainty and fear, showing that the mite is actively thinking about its next move. This further supports the idea that even a tiny creature has its own will and decision-making abilities. The third line, then in the middle of the open sheet, the mite moves to the center of the open page where he was writing. So this positioning is very symbolic. Students, very important question from board exams. This positioning is symbolic, standing alone and exposed in an open space. So as human, when you are in a situation, when you are standing exposed and open in a place, how do you feel? Just imagine, okay? It mirrors human vulnerability. मतलब चारों तरफ से कोई भी आपको अटैक कर सकता है, बहुत सारी चीज़ें हो सकती है आपके साथ. You are all alone standing in mid of an open space. So you are vulnerable, right, at that time. So it mirrors human vulnerability in an unpredictable world. So the mite is very vulnerable in an unpredictable world when it is open sheet. He's saying in the middle of the open sheet. Very important line, students. Please write this down. Please practice this. Cower down in desperation to accept. So the mite is, sorry, I am saying he again and again, the mite is in middle of the open sheet in mid of an unpredictable world. Cover down in desperation to accept. Now he's covering down. What does cover down means? Cover down means to shrink away or crouch down, okay, in fear. And often this is while moving backwards. So that is covering down. Desperation, you all know. Now, the mite lowers itself in fear, seemingly resigned to its fate. Now, he's accepting the fate, maybe. Okay. So, the mite is lowering down in fear, seemingly resigned to its fate. So, the words cover and desperation emphasize submission. Now, he's submitting, and helplessness. The mite appears to surrender to whatever the poet decides to do with it, reinforcing the theme of power and control in life. That's the theme. Okay. So it is a small creature. So it is covering down in fear and ready to accept the fate that the larger creature has for him. Whatever I accorded it of fate. So the poet is saying, cover down, the mite is cover down in desperation to accept whatever I accorded it of fate. Okay. So the poet realizes that the mite's fate is in his hands. The line, so accord is to give something to somebody. So now the poet realizes that he has this accord to give something to somebody. He has this power of controlling the fate of mite. Okay, the poet realizes that the mite's fate is in his hands. So this line deepens the idea that the poet holds absolute power over mite's life, just as humans often control the fate of smaller and weaker beings. It raises ethical questions about power and mercy. I have none of the tender than thou. Okay, so tenderer than thou, when is this phrase used? It means someone who believes they are more sensitive, okay, compassionate or caring than others, often in a self-righteous or condescending manner. So tenderer than thou means someone who believes that they are more tender, they are more sensitive or compassionate than others. So here the poet is saying, I have none of the tenderer than thou. Okay, the poet claims that he is not overly sentimental or excessively kind. So tenderer than thou mocks self-righteousness, compassion, suggesting that the poet is practical rather than overly emotional in his view of the mite. Collectivistic regimenting love. This is very important again. The poet criticizes the forced collective thinking and the structured or mechanical love. Now students, this is a philosophical statement. Frost is rejecting blind conformity and artificial compassion imposed by the society. He implies that true understanding and mercy should be personal and not dictated by societal norms. Students, you all know, nowadays what happens is the society has this forced collective thinking. They force our thinking, okay, that we should be doing this or that if you are a part of the society and you don't think yourself. So this compassion that the society is forcing on you is an artificial compassion. Okay, collectivistic regimenting love, the love that you want to show. For example, in Valentine's Day, if you are not giving rose to your partner or not showing your love to them, it means you are not fit for the society. The society has set these norms that you have to do this. So even if the person loves that person so well, the other person very much, but still if he is not giving rose to him or her, it means you are against this. So the society is collectively forcing you to do something. Okay, that is, this is collectivistic regimenting love. The poet criticizes forced collective thinking and structured mechanical love. I hope you understood now. So, with which the modern world is being swept. The modern world is being swept with what? With collectivistic regimenting love. Okay, according to poet, the true understanding and mercy should be personal and not dictated by societal norms. With which the modern world is being swept. Now, with this, the modern world is being swept with this. The poet observes that modern society is being overtaken by this forced collectivistic way of thinking. So this is a social critic. Frost suggests that people today blindly follow ideologies and trends rather than thinking for themselves. He contrasts genuine individual compassion with society's artificial structured love. So key takeaways from this stanza are: the might struggle represents the struggle of all living beings against fate. The poet reflects on his power over might's life, okay, linking it to broader themes of control, mercy, and societal influence. So let's talk about theme of this stanza. Power and fate is one of the very important theme here. The poet controls the might's destiny, just as powerful individuals control weaker ones. Next theme is individual versus society. The poet rejects forced collective compassion and emphasizing independent thought and genuine emotion. Third theme is survival instinct. The might's fear, hesitation, and movement show that even small creatures fight to survive. Let's talk about the literary devices in this stanza. Personification. In the whole poem, personification is there. The might is given human-like emotions like terror, hesitation, desperation. Imagery, vivid description, making the scene clear and intense. Irony. Though small and insignificant, the might struggle raises deep philosophical questions about life and power. So this stanza shifts the poem from a simple observation to a critic of modern society, making it more than just a reflection on a tiny creature. It becomes a larger statement on human nature and morality. So students, please remember literary devices in the whole poem. These devices are there. Personification, imagery, and irony are there. Let's move on to fourth stanza. But this poor microscopic item now, since it was nothing I knew evil of, I let it lie there till I hope it slept. I have a mind myself and recognize mind when I meet with it in any guise. No one can know how glad I am to find on any sheet the least display of mind. Amazing stanza, right? Let's see the first line. But this poor microscopic item now. So the poet refers to the tiny mite with pity, acknowledging its insignificance. Okay, so there's a pity because he's saying poor microscopic item, showing the insignificance. The word poor conveys sympathy, and microscopic item reminds us of its tiny, almost invisible existence. This line reinforces the theme of perception, that how something so small can still be meaningful. Since it was nothing I knew evil of, the poet realizes that the mite has done no harm and is innocent. It's not evil. This line highlights moral reflection. The poet acknowledges that he has no reason to harm the mite. It suggests a deeper ethical consideration of life, no matter how small. So when the poet says it, since it was nothing I knew evil of, because many a times what happens, students, is in the world that we live, okay, the larger creators, the larger creatures or the powerful creatures, if we talk in human, if we are powerful, if we are rich or having some position, we are powerful, okay, we think that the poor are always evil, na chor honge or thief honge, we always think. So here it is saying, since it was nothing I knew evil of. Okay, so there has to be an ethical consideration of life, no matter how small that life is. We should ethically consider it. I let it lie there till I hope it slept. So instead of harming the mite, the poet allows it to rest in peace. He lets the mite lie there. Still, the poet hopes that it slept. The phrase "till I hope it slept" suggests kindness and restraint. So rather than destroying a tiny creature just because he could drop a ink on it and just because he could, so rather than doing that, he chooses to let it be. This moment represents mercy and respect for even the smallest of lives. I have a mind myself and recognize. So the poet is saying that as a thinking being, he can identify intelligence in others. I have a mind myself, I am a thinking being, and I can I can identify the intelligence in others. So here Frost makes a connection between himself and the mite. Despite its smallness, it showed intelligence, and the poet, being intelligent himself, acknowledges it. This line reflects the idea that life, no matter how tiny, has thought and purpose. So I am connecting the fourth with the fifth line. I have a mind myself and recognize mind, and I recognize mind when I meet with it in any guise. In any guise, matlab even if it is in disguise, even if it is any form, even if it is in any shape or any form, I can recognize brains, I can recognize intelligence because I myself is intelligent. So the poet recognizes consciousness, intelligence or awareness in any form, any guise, and even if it is in disguise. So any guise means any shape or being, even a minuscule one, okay, even a minuscule mite, even if it is a very, very small mite, it means any, okay. This is a profound statement about respecting intelligence and life, no matter how different it may seem. No one can know how glad I am to find. The poet expresses joy in recognizing intelligence wherever it appears. So this suggests a deep appreciation for thought, awareness and individuality. It hints at the rarity of true intelligence and independent thinking in the world. So last line, no. On any sheet, the least display of mind. The poet values even the smallest sign of intelligence, whether in a mite or in writing. Okay. On any sheet, the least display of mind. The word sheet cleverly has a double meaning. It could mean the paper where he was writing, where he saw the mite move with a purpose. It could also refer to intellectual writing, okay, suggesting that he values any sign of thought, reason or intelligence in literature as well as in life. So on any sheet, in life or on any sheet that he is writing, on any sheet, the least display of mind, छोटे से छोटा भी इंटेलिजेंस हो तो वो उसको देखकर बहुत खुश हो जाता है, वो उसको पहचान कर बहुत खुश हो जाता है. ओके, सो नो वन कैन नो हाउ ग्लैड आई एम टू फाइंड, मैं कितना खुश हूँ वो फाइंड करके. क्या? ऑन एनी शीट द लीस्ट डिस्प्ले ऑफ माइंड, कहीं पे भी हो लीस्ट डिस्प्ले ऑफ माइंड फाइंड करके मैं बहुत खुश हो जाता हूँ. सो द वर्ड शीट, ओके, सॉरी. This final line ties together the entire poem's theme, showing how something as tiny as a mite can still demonstrate the qualities of life and thought that the poet deeply respects. So let's talk about the key takeaways from the last paragraph. The poet ultimately chooses mercy over destruction and values intelligence in all forms. Theme, pehla theme, respect for life. The poet does not harm the mite, showing compassion for even the smallest beings. Second, intelligence and awareness. The poet acknowledges that intelligence exists in many forms, not just in humans. Then, philosophical reflections. The poet ends with a deep appreciation for life, thought and individuality, no matter how small or insignificant something seems. So these are again the same literally devices. Personification. The mite is given intelligence and emotions, making it relatable. Irony. The poet, a great thinker, finds wisdom in a tiny, insignificant creature. Now, there is symbolism also here. The mite represents all small, unnoticed forms of life that still matter. So, this stanza brings the poem to a thoughtful and philosophical conclusion, emphasizing that life and intelligence deserves recognition regardless of size or status. So, that was all about this poem.
हेलो एवरीवन एंड वेलकम वंस अगेन टू जेनिथ एकेडमी ऑनलाइन। तो बच्चों, आज हम आईसीएससी क्लास 10 की बुक ट्रेजर चेस्ट से एक बहुत अमेजिंग पोएम करने वाले हैं, द पावर ऑफ म्यूजिक। सो बिफोर बिगनिंग लेट मी एक्सप्लेन यू कि मैं ये कैसे आपको एक्सप्लेन करने वाली हूँ। सबसे पहले हम एक एक स्टैंजा लेंगे, विल टेक वन स्टैंजा। उस स्टैंजा की जितनी भी वर्ड मीनिंग्स है आई विल एक्सप्लेन यू। देन विल टेक वन लाइन एंड एक्सप्लेन यू दोज लाइन्स। एक एक करके लाइन लेते जाएंगे, मैं उसको अच्छे से आपको एक्सप्लेन करूंगी वर्ड मीनिंग्स के साथ। इस तरीके से स्टैंजा खत्म होने के बाद हम उसका एनालिसिस करेंगे। सो दिस इज द एनालिसिस ऑफ फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ, फर्स्ट स्टैंजा, एंड देन विल गो ऑन टू द सेकंड स्टैंजा एंड सो ऑन। तो हर स्टैंजा में सबसे पहले पूरा स्टैंजा आई विल रीड आउट, I will then give you the meanings of important words, and then we'll take line by line, and in the end the total analysis of the whole poem. So this way you'll be able to answer the questions very well. So let's begin. सबसे पहले मैंने यहाँ पे जियान का पिक्चर लगाया है, क्योंकि जैसे ही मेरे दिमाग में ये पोएम बनाने का वीडियो आया, या जब भी मैंने ये पोएम फर्स्ट टाइम पढ़ी एक्चुअली, तब मुझे जियान का ही फेस सामने आया, बिकॉज माई सन यूज टू वॉच दिस डोरेमोन अ लॉट। और जैसे ही भीष्म का नाम आया और मैं हर बार इसी को इमेजिन कर रही थी। सो दैट्स व्हाई आई started with this. So let's begin. This is the first stanza of the poem. When summer comes, we hear the hums. Bhishma Lochan Sharma. You catch his train on hill and plain from Delhi down to Burma. He sings as though he's staked his life. He sings as though he's hell-bent. The people dazed retire amazed, although they know it's well meant. So that's the first stanza. So यहाँ hums का क्या meaning है बच्चों? Hums mean a continuous low sound. So एक हल्का हल्का सा low sound जो होता है, often referring to a soft singing or the sound of insects. जैसे हम, और bees, जैसे हम बोलते हैं ना humming sound of bees, जो कंटिन्यूस आता रहता है लेकिन लो साउंड होता है। ठीक है, भीष्म लोचन शर्मा तो उसका नाम है। तो यहाँ भीष्म लोचन शर्मा कौन है? जियान। यू स्ट्रेन, यू कैच स्ट्रेन ऑन हिल एंड प्लेन। यहाँ स्ट्रेन का क्या मतलब है? यहाँ पे इसका मतलब है म्यूजिकल नोट्स और मेलोडी दैट इज प्रोड्यूस्ड बाय अ सिंगर। जो भी म्यूजिकल नोट्स सिंगर ने बनाए हैं वो स्ट्रेन कहलाता है। सो यू कैच स्ट्रेन ऑन हिल एंड प्लेन फ्रॉम दिल्ली। He sings as though he is staked. अच्छा, प्लेन, प्लेन, हिल एंड प्लेन, प्लेन तो हमें पता ही है, फ्लैट लैंड और अ ब्रॉड एरिया ऑफ लैंड। ठीक है, देन हेल बेंट, व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय हेल बेंट? हेल बेंट का मतलब है डिटरमाइंड टू डू समथिंग इवन इफ इट कॉजेस डिफिकल्टीज। मतलब इतना ज्यादा डिटर्मिनेशन कि ये काम करके ही रहूंगा, चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, चाहे मुझे कितनी भी मुश्किलों का सामना करना पड़ जाए। एज दो, सो ही सिंग्स एज दो ही स्टेक्ड हिज लाइफ, उसकी लाइफ रिस्क पे हो, स्टेक पे रखी हो, ऐसा वो गाना गा रहा है। और he sings as though he is hell bent ना। तो I'll explain all the lines, I'm just explaining the meanings here. Dazed है ना, the people dazed, dazed मतलब in a state of confusion, लोग एकदम confusion के state में एकदम हक्के बक्के जो रह जाते हैं, they are bewildered, okay, dazed. Retire amazed, retire का क्या मतलब है? यहाँ पे retire का मतलब मर जाना नहीं है यहाँ। Here retire means to withdraw or move away from a place of situation. जब हम किसी सिचुएशन से तंग आ जाते हैं तो हम क्या करते हैं? अपने आप को उससे दूर कर लेते हैं, पीछे हो जाते हैं। सो दैट इज वी रिटायर फ्रॉम अ कॉन्वर्सेशन, वी रिटायर फ्रॉम एनीथिंग दैट वी डोंट लाइक, तो वी मूव अवे फ्रॉम दैट प्लेस और दैट सिचुएशन। वेल मेंट, ये बोले वी नो इट इज वेल मेंट। वेल मेंट का मतलब है उसके इंटेंशन अच्छे थे, विद गुड इंटेंशंस, दो पॉसिबली रिजल्टिंग इन एन अनइंटेंडेड इफेक्ट। मतलब उसके इंटेंशन तो अच्छे थे लेकिन शायद इसका जो इफेक्ट हुआ वो ऐसा अनइंटेंडेड हुआ, मतलब उसने चाहा नहीं था कि ये इफेक्ट हो, बट खराब इफेक्ट हो गया। उसके इंटेंशंस तो अच्छे थे, है ना। ही वेल मेंट बट उसका इफेक्ट अच्छा नहीं हुआ। तो ये मीनिंग्स आपको समझ आ गए। इस स्टैंजा में कोई भी ऐसा डिफिकल्ट वर्ड नहीं है। अब हम समझते हैं। सो फर्स्ट लाइन, व्हेन समर कम्स वी हियर द हम्स, भीष्म लोचन शर्मा। So this line sets the scene by indicating that, ये सीन को सेट करके बता रहा है कि इन समर, है ना, when summer comes, कि समर गर्मियों के टाइम पे भीष्म लोचन शर्मा की जो सिंगिंग है वो सुनाई दे सकती है। This line sets the scene by indicating that in summer Bhishma Lochan Sharma's singing can be heard. We hear the hums. The word hums suggests the continuous nature of his singing, which seems to be a regular occurrence during the summer months. तो ये जब हम कह रहे हैं कि when summer comes we hear the hums भीष्म लोचन शर्मा, तो ये लाइन सेट कर रही है सीन को और बता रही है कि हर समर में भीष्म लोचन शर्मा की गाने की आवाज सुनाई देती है हमें। हम वर्ड इसलिए यूज किया है, इससे ये सजेशन मिलता है कि इसका जो सिंगिंग का नेचर है वो कंटिन्यूस है, मतलब हमेशा हमेशा हर समर में इट्स अ रेगुलर अकरेंस दैट हैपेंस ड्यूरिंग द समर मंथ्स। नेक्स्ट लाइन, यू कैच स्ट्रेन ऑन हिल एंड प्लेन फ्रॉम दिल्ली डाउन टू बर्मा। तो हमने स्ट्रेन तो समझ ही लिया था, स्ट्रेन का क्या अर्थ है, जो उसका नोट है, म्यूजिकल नोट है जो उसकी आवाज से निकल रहा है। यू कैच स्ट्रेन, जो वो गा रहा है वो कैच करते हो कहाँ तक, हिल पे भी और प्लेन, हिल ऑन हिल एंड प्लेन फ्रॉम दिल्ली डाउन टू बर्मा, दिल्ली से बर्मा तक। सो भीष्म लोचन सिंगिंग, ये जो मेन कैरेक्टर है भीष्म लोचन, उसकी जो सिंगिंग है इज सो लाउड एंड फार रीचिंग दैट इट कैन बी हर्ड एवरीवेयर फ्रॉम हिल्स टू प्लेन्स, मतलब यहाँ से लेकर पहाड़ों से लेकर प्लेन्स तक, एंड अक्रॉस अ वास्ट डिस्टेंस फ्रॉम दिल्ली टू बर्मा, है ना। तो बर्मा, पहले बर्मा कहते थे, अभी हम उसे म्यांमार कहते हैं। सो दिस देयर इज एन एक्सेजरेशन ऑफ कोर्स कि किसी की भी आवाज हिल से प्लेन तक या दिल्ली से बर्मा तक कैसे सुनाई दे सकती है। सो दिस एक्सेजरेशन emphasizes, ये बताता है कि हाउ वाइड स्प्रेड एंड अनअवॉइडेबल हिज वॉइस इज, इतनी फैली हुई है और कहीं पे भी जाओ आप अवॉइड नहीं कर पाओगे, हर जगह उसकी आवाज सुनाई दे रही है। ये सजेस्ट करने के लिए ऐसा एक्सेजरेशन यूज किया गया है। He sings as though he's staked his life. He sings as though he's hell-bent. So भीष्म लोचन शर्मा जो है वो सिंग करता है, he sings with extreme passion and determination, है ना, इसलिए यहाँ बोला है he sings as though he has staked his life, as if his very life depends on it. The phrase hell-bent suggests what, हमने मीनिंग पढ़ ही लिया था, suggests that he is singing with an almost reckless intensity, ऐसी इंटेंसिटी के साथ, है ना, इतना डिटर्मिनेशन के साथ वो गा रहा है, showing his strong commitment to his music regardless of its quality, उसे क्वालिटी पता नहीं है कि कैसी है, लेकिन वो इतना कमिटमेंट से, रेकलेस इंटेंसिटी के साथ ये गा रहा है। ठीक है, तो बच्चों हियर आई हैव यूज्ड वेरी डिफिकल्ट वर्ड्स, है ना, वेरी गुड वर्ड्स आई विल से, नॉट डिफिकल्ट, सो दैट यू स्कोर वेल इन योर एग्जाम। ये ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको टफ बताने के लिए या मुझे कितनी इंग्लिश आती है वो बताने के लिए मैंने ये वर्ड्स यूज किए हैं। मैंने ये बहुत अच्छे वर्ड्स इसीलिए यूज किए हैं ताकि आप ऐसे ही वर्ड्स आंसर्स में लिखे और आपको अच्छे मार्क्स मिले, की वर्ड्स डाले हैं मैंने। ठीक है, आई होप दिस लाइन इज क्लियर। नेक्स्ट, द पीपल डेज्ड रिटायर अमेज्ड ऑल्दो दे नो इट्स वेल मेंट। तो यहाँ कहने का ये मतलब है कि लोग हैरानी में हैं, अपने आप को वहां से पीछे करने की कोशिश करते हैं, जबकि वो जानते हैं कि वो बुरा नहीं चाहता, मतलब उसकी इंटेंशन खराब नहीं थी, लेकिन उसका असर तो खराब हो रहा है ना, लोग परेशान हो रहे हैं उसकी आवाज से। सो द पीपल who listen to his singing are left in a state of shock and confusion. That is the meaning of dazed, है ना, कि वो एक शॉक और कंफ्यूजन की स्टेट में आ गए हैं, एंड रिट्रीट इन अमेजमेंट, वो इतना इतना, इट इज नॉट अम्यूजमेंट, इट इज अमेजमेंट कि यार ये कैसे, क्यों, why are we listening to this song, so they retreat themselves back in amazement डिस्पाइट। रिट्रीट करने का क्या अर्थ है ना, रिटायर का दूसरा वर्ड लिया है रिट्रीट, दे मूव बैक फ्रॉम दैट प्लेस और सिचुएशन, तो उसके लिए अलग वर्ड है रिट्रीट। they retreat, they come back, है ना. Despite being overwhelmed by his singing, they recognize that, चाहे वो ओवरवेल्म्ड हो गया उसके सिंगिंग को सुन के, लेकिन फिर भी उनको पता है, दे रिकॉग्नाइज दैट हिज इंटेंशंस आर गुड एंड ही मीन्स नो हार्म विथ हिज परफॉर्मेंस. ही डजंट मीन हार्म विथ दैट परफॉर्मेंस, है ना. और यहाँ क्लियरली लिखा है, ऑल्दो दे नो इट इज वेल मेंट, मीन्स दे रिकॉग्नाइज दिस दैट ओके हिज इंटेंशंस आर गुड, पर उससे क्या असर हो रहा है वो उसे नहीं पता है. So this stanza is over. So let's read the analysis. This stanza humorously, है ना, हंसी मजाक है इसमें, humorously emphasizes how omnipresent मतलब हर जगह present है, हर जगह सुनाई दे रही है, प्लेन पे, हिल पे, दिल्ली से लेकर बर्मा तक, ठीक है. तो इसे omnipresent मतलब जैसे गॉड इज omnipresent, उसकी प्रेजेंस हर जगह है. So use good words like this. So this stanza humorously emphasizes how omnipresent and overwhelming Bhishma Lochan Sharma's singing is. His voice can be heard all over, stretching from Delhi to Burma, painting a picture of his widespread influence. So this scene is painting the picture कि वो उसका influence widespread है. The poet uses hyperbole to show that his singing transcends boundaries. हर बाउंड्री को के परे है वो, इसलिए hyperbole यूज हुआ है. Filling both hills and plains, which suggests that no one can escape from it during the summer. Now, Bhishma Lochan's passion for singing is described as intense and unstoppable. The comparison to someone who has staked his life or is hell bent highlights his determination and the force with which he sings. Now, even though the quality of his singing leaves much to be desired, okay, so even though the quality of his singing leaves much to be desired, his commitment to it is undeniable. जिसे हम डिनाई नहीं कर सकते, इतना ज़्यादा कमिटमेंट है उसका. The humor in the poem lies in the contrast between his earnest dedication and the devastating impact his singing has on others. तो आई होप आप सबने डोरेमोन तो देखा ही होगा, तो जियान की सिंगिंग का इम्पैक्ट तो आपको पता ही है. तो उसी तरीके से आप कंपेयर कर लो भीष्म लोचन शर्मा की सिंगिंग का, कि अर्नेस्ट डेडिकेशन दिख रहा है, देयर इज अ कॉन्ट्रास्ट बिटवीन हिज अर्नेस्ट डेडिकेशन, लेकिन उसका डिवास्टेटिंग इम्पैक्ट भी दिख रहा है. The people, though they are bewildered and stunned by his powerful voice, realize that he is well-meaning. उसकी मंशा खराब नहीं थी, है ना. वो उसने अंदर से नहीं सोचा था कि लोगों को ऐसा खराब लगेगा या उनकी हालत खराब हो जाएगी. His singing, despite his unpleasantness, comes from a place of sincerity. ये बहुत ही अच्छी लाइन है बच्चों, ये प्लीज कॉपी करना आप सब लोग, ठीक है. हर कोई स्क्रीनशॉट्स लेके अच्छे से नोट्स बनाओ बच्चों, अभी समझ लो फिर अच्छे से नोट्स बनाओ ताकि आपकी एग्जाम के लिए आप प्रिपेयर्ड हो, राइट. सो हिज सिंगिंग डिस्पाइट हिज अनप्लेजेंटनेस, उसका सिंगिंग दूसरों को अनप्लेजेंट लग रही थी, बट दैट कम्स फ्रॉम अ प्लेस ऑफ सिंसियरिटी. उसके अंदर बहुत डेडिकेशन है, वो सिंसियरली उसको निकाल रहा है. द पोएट क्लेवरली यूजेस दिस आयरनी that Bhishma Lochan's passion and good intentions just exposed with the disarray that he causes, that to create a light-hearted comic effect. तो पोएट ने बहुत क्लेवरली इस आयरनी को यूज किया है, उसके पैशन, उसके गुड इंटेंशन को, विद द इफेक्ट दैट इट इज कॉजिंग, एंड दिस इज somehow creating a light-hearted and comic effect. Now let's go to the next paragraph or next stanza. They are trampled in the panic, rout or languish, pale and sickly, and plead, my friend, we are near our end. Oh, stop your singing quickly. The bullock carts are overturned and horses line the roadside. But Bhishma Lochan, unconcerned, goes booming out his broadside. तो इस पिक्चर से ही आपको पता चल गया होगा, उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है भीष्म लोचन शर्मा को. ही इज अनकंसर्न्ड, उसे कोई कंसर्न नहीं है, वो आराम से गा रहा है और लोगों पे इफेक्ट हो रहा है, बहुत ऐसा इफेक्ट हो रहा है, आप देख सकते हो, ठीक है. सो लेट्स फर्स्ट अंडरस्टैंड द वर्ड मीनिंग्स. ट्रैम्पल्ड, दे आर ट्रैम्पल्ड, ट्रैम्पल्ड का मतलब है स्टेप डाउन हैवीली, ऐसा लग रहा है कि उनके ऊपर कोई चढ़ गया है, और डैमेज कर रहा है उनको। जैसे हम आपको बताऊं, जब वो होता है स्टैम्पीड होता है, स्टैम्पीड में क्या होता है, यही चीज होती है, ट्रैम्पल्ड इज अनदर मीन। उनके ऊपर कोई चढ़ गया है और डैमेज हो रहा है, जैसे चीजों पे भी होता है वैसे ही लोगों पे स्टैम्पीड होता है। जब चीजों पे होता है तो उसे हम ट्रैम्पल्ड कहते हैं, इट्स अ जनरल टर्म। ओके। पैनिक राउट, पैनिक राउट का क्या मतलब है, दे आर ट्रैम्पल्ड इन द पैनिक राउट। पैनिक राउट का अर्थ है केओटिक डिसऑर्डरली रिट्रीट और एस्केप, वो एकदम हड़बड़ा के भागने जब लगते हैं, केओटिक डिसऑर्डरली रिट्रीट और एस्केप। समझ आ गया पैनिक राउट का मतलब? जब पैनिक हो जाता है तो किस तरह से लोग हड़बड़ा कर डिसऑर्डरली भागते हैं। ओके। लैंग्विश, लैंग्विश का क्या अर्थ है, टू ग्रो वीक और सफर फ्रॉम डिस्ट्रेस। अगर कोई बहुत, देखो आप यहाँ देख सकते हो शिजुका को, वो लैंग्वेज फेल हो गई है, मतलब एकदम वीक फील करते हैं जब कोई एकदम परेशान हो रहे हैं। यू ग्रो वीक एंड यू सफर फ्रॉम स्ट्रेस, डिस्ट्रेस। ओके। नाउ प्लीड, प्लीड का मतलब भीख मांगना, मतलब बेग, यू टू बेग और टू मेक एन अर्नेस्ट रिक्वेस्ट, दैट इज प्लीड, है ना। एंड प्लीड, दे प्लीड माय फ्रेंड वी आर नियर आवर एंड। ओवरटर्न, ओवरटर्न का मतलब है पलट जाना, पता ही है आपको, टर्न अपसाइड डाउन और टिप्ड ओवर। ब्रॉड साइड, देखो यहाँ पे, बट भीष्म लोचन अनकंसर्न गोज बूमिंग आउट हिज ब्रॉड साइड। ब्रॉड साइड का अर्थ है पावरफुल एंड फोर्सफुल अटैक, जब आदमी या कोई अटैक करता है। ब्रॉड साइड का अर्थ होता है पावरफुल एंड फोर्सफुल अटैक। तो ऑफन फिगरेटिवली रेफरिंग टू, ये कब, ये यहाँ पे कैसे रेफर किया जा रहा है, टू अ लाउड आउटबर्स्ट ऑफ साउंड और स्पीच। ये वर्ड ब्रॉड साइड कब यूज किया जाता है, जब एक बड़ा साउंड आ रहा होता है, a very powerful and forceful attack of a sound. It refers to a loud outburst of sound or speech. Understood? Now let's take one line and understand. So here they, यहाँ पे जब they are trampled लिखा है तो they का क्या मतलब है, they refers to the people or animals affected by Bhishma Lochan's singing. The phrase panic out or panic rout suggests that they are fleeing in chaos, भाग रहे हैं chaos में, leading to them being trampled, है ना, जिसकी वजह से stampede type हो रहा है. Others are so weakened by the singing that they become pale and ill, unable to cope with the situation. So I'll just repeat, they are trampled in panic rout or languish, pale and sickly. They refers to the people or animals affected by Bhishma Lochan's singing. The phrase panic rout suggests that they are fleeing in chaos and leading them to being trampled, and others are so weakened by the singing that they are becoming pale and ill, and they are unable to cope up with the situation. Next line, and plead, my friend, we are near our end. Oh, stop your singing quickly. So those suffering from Bhishma Lochan's dreadful singing are begging him to stop. They feel as if they are near death, that is why they have used near our end, due to the unbearable effect of his voice. They are desperate for him to stop singing. I hope this is clear. Please, children, mark these words, not dreadful singing. Use these words in your answers. Unbearable effect of his voice. है ना? Use these kind of words to score good. The bullock carts are overturned and horses line the roadside. The chaos caused by Bhishma Lochan's singing is so extreme that even the bullock carts, you know what are bullock carts? Vehicles that are pulled by bulls, they have overturned. Even the bullock carts have overturned. And the horses are lying helpless on the side of the road. So this paints a picture of the total disorder and devastation. So this is painting the picture. We are able to imagine कि total disorder और devastation कैसे हो गया है कि बुलक कार्ट भी उल्टी हो गई है, हॉर्स साइड में हेल्पलेसली लाई कर रहे हैं, है ना, रोड के साइड पे पड़े हुए हैं, तो टोटल डिसऑर्डर और डिवास्टेशन दिख रहा है यहाँ. But Bhishma Lochan, unconcerned, goes booming out his broadside. So despite all the destruction and pleas for mercy, है ना, सबने plead भी किया है. So despite all the destruction and pleas for mercy, Bhishma Lochan remains completely indifferent, है ना, completely indifferent, unconcerned का use किया है. है ना. आप और भी अच्छे वर्ड यूज कर सकते हो, अनपर्टर्ब्ड, है ना. अच्छे अच्छे वर्ड्स यूज करो. So take out your dictionary or thesaurus, use good words. I have given you very good words, you can use them directly. He continues to sing loudly, that is booming, with great force, oblivious to the havoc he is causing around him. Right? So now let's talk about the analysis. The stanza humorously illustrates the disastrous effects of Bhishma Lochan's singing. Through vivid imagery and exaggeration, that is hyperbole, the poet shows how his terrible voice causes chaos and panic. The people and animals around him are either trampled in a stampede or become ill, and they even beg him to stop singing, feeling as though his voice is driving them to their death. The overturned bullock carts and helpless horses add to the sense of widespread destruction. However, the humor is intensified by the fact that Bhishma Lochan is completely unconcerned about the chaos that he is causing. He continues to sing forcefully, oblivious to the suffering around him. The phrase booming out his broadside emphasizes the power and volume of his voice, making the whole scene both comical and absurd. The exaggerated calamity caused by his singing adds to the light-hearted tone of the poem, highlighting the power of music, but in a disastrous and humorous way. So, students, I am just reading out this analysis because I have explained you everything in the earlier lines, right? So, let's go ahead with the next stanza. The wretched brutes resent the blare the hour they hear it sounded. They whine and stare with feet in air or wonder quite confounded. The fishes dived below the lake in frantic search for silence. The very trees collapse and shake, you hear the crash a mile hence. And in the sky the feathered fly turn turtle while they are winging. Again we cry, we are going to die. Oh, won't you stop your singing? So, amazing stanza. Let's have the word meanings. What does the word wretched means? The first word wretched. It means miserable, unfortunate or pitiful. Now the wretched brutes. Brutes means animals. So typically here they are referring to creatures that are lacking reason, जिन्हें समझ नहीं आता है. बेजुबान जानवर जिसे हम बोलते हैं वो कह सकते हैं जिनको समझ नहीं है ना. They are lacking reason. So here it implies the animals listening to Bhishma Lochan singing. Then blare, resent the blare the hour they hear it sounded. Blare मतलब a loud and a harsh sound. है ना. Now confounded. Here we have the word confounded. Confounded means bewildered or confused. Then we have frantic search. Frantic जब हम इधर उधर होश खो के जब ढूंढने कोई चीज. Frantic is desperate. तो frantic search is desperate search. Okay. जब भी हम एक्साइटमेंट या फियर से जब हम कोई चीज डेस्परेटली करते हैं उसे हम बोलते हैं फ्रैंटिक. टर्न टर्टल, यहाँ पे है टर्न टर्टल. टर्न टर्टल का मतलब क्या होता है? टू फ्लिप अपसाइड डाउन. ये मतलब नहीं कि टर्टल को उल्टा करना है, नहीं. टू फ्लिप अपसाइड डाउन, जैसे टर्टल टर्न हो जाता है ना, वैसे टर्न टर्टल एक फ्रेज है जिसका मतलब है टू फ्लिप अपसाइड डाउन, ऑफन रेफरिंग टू समथिंग दैट इज ओवरटर्न्ड. Now we have again winging. Winging का मतलब है flying. So let's take line by line and understand things better. The wretched brutes resent the blare the hour they hear it sounded. The wretched brutes means animals. मैंने wretched और brutes का मतलब आपको समझा ही दिया है. Miserable animals जो बेचारे बोल सुन नहीं सकते, जिनको होश नहीं है, रीजनिंग नहीं कर सकते. ठीक है. The wretched brutes are immediately disturbed and angered when they hear Bhishma Lochan's loud singing. है ना. Blare. The word blare refers to a harsh sound, loud noise, and the animals resent it. मतलब पछता रहे हैं as soon as they hear it. रिजेंटमेंट, सॉरी बचता नहीं रहे, रिजेंटमेंट है इनके। They whine and stare with feet in air or wonder quite confounded. So the animals are so overwhelmed by the noise, है ना, that some are whining in distress. मतलब अजीब सी आवाज बनाते हैं whining, you know what whine is, they are whining in distress, आवाजें बना रहे हैं distress में, while others lie on their backs with their feet up in the air. Imagine करो कैसे कैसे उल्टे हो जाएंगे, ओवरटर्न हो जाएंगे कि बैक पे लाई करे और उनके हाथ पांव, उनके जो फीट है वो ऊपर है, completely disoriented. They are completely disoriented. They are left bewildered and confused by the intensity of the sound. So they whine and stare with feet in air or wonder quite confounded. They are so confused, they are left bewildered. The fishes dived below the lake in frantic search for silence. So even the fish who live in water are not spared from the loud singing. In a desperate attempt to escape the noise, they dive deeper into the lake to find silence. This exaggeration shows the far-reaching impact of Bhishmalochan's singing. Okay, so you have understood the fishes dive below the lake in frantic search for silence. The very tree, the very trees collapse and shake, you hear the crash a mile hence. So the noise from Bhishma Lochan's singing is so powerful, इतनी powerful है that even the trees are affected. They tremble, tremble मतलब डर के कांपना, है ना? They tremble and collapse, collapse मतलब गिर जाना पूरी तरह से. And crushing sound can be heard, और उनके गिरने की जो आवाज है, crushing sound है, वो कहाँ तक सुनाई देती है? Can be heard from a mile away. This is another exaggerated image meant to show the extreme effect of his voice. This is clear? And in the sky, the feathered fly turn turtle while they are winging, and while they are flying. तो सिर्फ साउंड मैच करने के लिए उसको यहाँ विंगिंग किया है. So birds flying in the sky are also affected. The phrase turn turtle means to flip upside down, है ना, and in the sky the feathered fly का मतलब है यहाँ पे birds से मतलब. Turn turtle का मतलब है they flipped upside down. The birds are so disoriented by the sound that they flip over in the air while flying, unable to maintain the control. This is such an exaggeration. Again we cry, we are going to die. Oh, won't you stop your singing? So the people once again plead with Bhishma Lochan. फिर से वो बोल रहे हैं, है ना, plead कर रहे हैं to stop singing. They feel as though they are going to die from the unbearable noise and desperately ask him to stop. So this stanza continues the humorous exaggeration of the effects of Bhishma Lochan's singing, terrible singing, and this time focusing on how it affects nature and animals. है ना, इस स्टैंजा में नेचर और एनिमल्स को कैसे इफेक्ट किया है वो ज्यादा बताया गया है. The stanza paints an absurdly catastrophic scene. ना, बहुत absurdly catastrophic है वो, where all living creatures, including the animals, fish, trees, and birds, are disturbed by the sound of his voice. The animals resent the loud noise and react dramatically by whining, and they are whining over it, staring in confusion, or lying on their backs in defeat. हार मान के इस हालत में है वो. This exaggerated imagery shows how overwhelming and unbearable the sound is for them. Even fish who are underwater are so disturbed by the singing that they frantically dive deeper into the lake in search of peace, in search of silence, highlighting the absurdity of the situation. The trees themselves are not immune to the effects, collapsing and shaking from sheer force of the sound. And the birds flying in the sky are thrown into chaos, flipping upside down mid-flight, मतलब उड़ते उड़ते वो upside down flip हो गए हैं. The imagery of the trees crashing and the birds flipping adds a comedic touch to the disaster, emphasizing the extreme power of Bhishma Lochan's voice. So everything, all of this is emphasizing what? the extreme power of music, the power of Bhishma Lochan's voice. So finally, the people once again plead for the singing to stop, feeling as though the noise is going to kill them. Their exaggerated cries for help and desperation continue to underscore the humorous tone of the poem, where Bhishma Lochan's well-meaning but disastrous singing brings about chaos to the world around him. बच्चों ये बहुत अच्छी लाइन है. Bhishma Lochan's well-meaning but disastrous singing brings chaos to the world around him. है ना? सिर्फ इसी लाइन से पूरी पोएम्स आप समझा सकते हो. So use these good lines. Now let's see, this is the last paragraph. But Bhishma, last stanza. But Bhishma soared beyond our reach. However we plead and grumble, the waking weeps to hear his screech, and mighty mansions stumble. But now there comes a billy goat, a most sagacious fellow. आप billy goat देख सकते हो यहाँ. He downs his horns and charges straight with bellows answering bellow. The strains of song are tossed and whirled by blast of brutal violence, and Bhishma Lochan grants the world the golden gift of silence. तो अब यहाँ एक ट्विस्ट आ गया है. आप देख सकते हो क्या है ये. दिस इज अ बिली गोट. ओके, तो पहले हम वर्ड मीनिंग्स कर लेते हैं, फिर एक एक लाइन पढ़ेंगे तो आपको समझ आ जाएगा. भीष्म तो हम पता ही है, यहाँ पे पूरा नाम नहीं लिया है, भीष्मास लिया है. Here it refers to Bhishma Lochan Sharma, a character in the poem who is a terrible singer. Soared beyond our reach. Bhishmas, यहाँ पे उसकी वॉइस की बात कर रहे हैं. Soars beyond our reach. जब apostrophe s लगाया है तो मतलब इसकी वॉइस की बात कर रहे हैं. Soared beyond our reach का मतलब है his singing has reached an unbearable level out of control. Okay? इसका मतलब है however, है ना, शॉर्ट फॉर्म में लिखते हैं इसको. वैकिंग मतलब द स्काई और द हेवेंस. द वैकिंग वीप्स मतलब द स्काई और पूरा हेवन जो है वो वीप कर रहा है, आंसू बहा रहा है. वीप्स मतलब क्राइज. मेटामॉर्फिकली डिस्क्राइबिंग हाउ इवन द हेवेंस आर डिस्टर्ब्ड बाय भीष्मा सिंगिंग. देन हियर हिज स्क्रीच का अर्थ है अ हाई पिच्ड, बहुत जोर से जब हम चिल्लाते हैं, हाई पिच हार्श साउंड, रेफरिंग टू भीष्म टेरिबल सिंगिंग. Now, the next word कौन सा है? Sagacious, है ना. But now there comes a billy goat, a most sagacious fellow. Sagacious मतलब wise या clever. तो एक ये बहुत ही wise या clever billy goat आ गई है अब सीन में. ठीक है. Now bellow means loud deep roar typically made by an animal. और इस केस में कौन बना रहा है? बिली गोट बना रही है, bellow, है ना. ये रहा bellow. स्ट्रेन्स मैंने आपको बताया था, म्यूजिकल नोट्स और साउंड. टॉस्ड एंड वर्ल्ड. द स्ट्रेन्स ऑफ सॉन्ग आर टॉस्ड एंड वर्ल्ड मतलब थ्रोन अराउंड एंड डिस्टर्ब. टॉस कर देते हैं ना, और वर्ल होके चला गया. थ्रोन अराउंड एंड डिस्टर्ब्ड. ब्लास्ट ऑफ ब्रूटल वायलेंस मतलब रिफर्स टू द एग्रेसिव अटैक ऑफ द बिली गोट. ब्रूटल बहुत एग्रेसिव, जिससे मौत भी हो सकती है, उसे ब्रूटल कहते हैं. ब्रूटल वायलेंस इज, it is here referring to the aggressive attack by this billy goat. ठीक है. golden gift of silence का यहाँ अर्थ है metamorphically describing the relief of silence after Bhishma stops singing. तो एक साइलेंस का गिफ्ट मिला है. ठीक है. अब मीनिंग तो हमने पढ़ लिया, अब एक दो लाइन को लेके हम समझते हैं. But Bhishma soared beyond our reach, however we plead and grumble. So despite the constant pleading and complaints from the people, Bhishma Lochan Sharma continues singing with no regard for their request. He has become so engrossed in his performance that he is beyond the reach of their protest. So here, but Bhishma's voice, you can say, soared beyond our reach, मतलब इनके प्रोटेस्ट कि बियॉन्ड चला गया है, वो इतना अपने उसमें एंग्रोस हो गया है ना, कि ही इज बियॉन्ड द रीच ऑफ द प्रोटेस्ट, उसे सुनाई ही नहीं दे रहा है. हाउएवर, है ना, भीष्म की वो वॉइस इतनी ज्यादा है कि उसको लोगों के प्रोटेस्ट समझ ही नहीं आ रहे. हाउएवर वी प्लीड एंड ग्रम्बल, कितना भी हम प्लीड और ग्रम्बल करें, द वैकिन weeps to hear his screech and mighty mansions tumble. एकदम इजी है. स्काई और हेवेंस भी उसकी स्क्रीच तेज आवाज सुन के, और जो बड़े बड़े माइटी मतलब बहुत बड़े बड़े जो मैंशंस है, हवेलियां भी टम्बल हो रही है. ठीक है. So the word wakin refers to the sky or heavens. The heavens themselves seem to cry, that is weep, upon hearing Bhishma Lochan's screeching voice. His singing is so terrible that even mighty mansions, that is grand buildings, collapse from the impact of the sound. This is an exaggeration to show the overwhelming force of his singing. टम्बल हो जाती है. टम्बल होना मतलब ऐसे, जैसे ये ऐसे खड़ी हुई है ना. टम्बल हो जाना मतलब ऐसे लुढ़क जाना. टम्बल इज लुढ़क जाना ऐसे. ठीक है. बट नाउ देयर कम्स अ बिली गोट, अ मोस्ट सगैशियस फेलो. तो अब एक बिली गोट आ गई है पिक्चर में. अ बिली गोट as described as a sagacious fellow, meaning wise or clever, enters the scene. अभी scene में किसने enter किया है? बिली गोट ने. This goat is depicted as intelligent and seems to be the one who can finally put an end to Bhishma's singing. है ना. यहाँ पे उसको इंटेलिजेंट डिपिक्ट किया गया है, और ये एंड बिली गोट सीम्स टू बी वन हु कैन फाइनली पुट एन एंड टू Bhishma's singing. He downs his horns and charges straight, with bellow answering bellow. So the goat lowers his horns and charges directly at Bhishma Lochan. The phrase bellow answering bellow suggests that the goat lets out a loud cry or bellow in response to Bhishma's loud singing. मतलब भीष्मा जो लाउड गाना गा रहा है उसी को टक्कर दे रहा है, उसी को आंसर कर रहा है. बेलो आंसरिंग बेलो. ठीक है. Almost as if the goat is challenging his voice with its own. The strains of song are tossed and whirled by a blast of brutal violence. So Bhishma Lochan's singing is forcefully interrupted and thrown into chaos. भीष्म लोचन जो गा रहा है उसको फोर्सफुली इंटरप्ट हो गया है वो, और उसको बाहर फेंक दिया गया है into chaos. By what? By the violent charge of the goat. गोट ने उस पर चार्ज कर दिया है. The song is described as being tossed and whirled. Song tossed और whirled हो गया है, suggesting that the goat's attack has disrupted the terrible singing in brutal but effective way. बहुत ब्रूटल तरीके से उसको टेरिबल सिंगिंग को रोक दिया गया है, बट बहुत इफेक्टिव तरीके से रोक दिया गया है कि वो पूरा उसका जो सॉन्ग था टॉस और वर्ल्ड हो गया है. एंड भीष्म लोचन ग्रांट्स द वर्ल्ड द गोल्डन गिफ्ट ऑफ साइलेंस. तो भीष्म लोचन ने क्या वर्ल्ड को ग्रांट किया है? साइलेंस. और साइलेंस को गोल्डन गिफ्ट बोला है क्योंकि लोग बहुत परेशान हो गए थे ना उसकी आवाज से. तो आइए एक्सप्लेनेशन पढ़ते हैं. एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ गोड्स इंटरवेंशन, Bhishma Lochan finally stops singing and the silence is restored. फिर से silence आ गई है. This silence is humorously referred to as golden gift, implying that the world has been blessed by the end of Bhishma's disruptive singing. So this stanza starts by highlighting how Bhishma Lochan is beyond reason. He continues to sing despite all the protests and pleas from the people. The use of hyperbole is again evident in the description of his singing. The welkin weeps, that is the sky or heavens cry, and even grand buildings, that is mighty mansions, collapse because of the sheer voice of his screeching voice. Sheer force of his screeching voice. This exaggeration continues the humorous tone of the poem, showing the catastrophic effect of his singing on the world his singing has on the world. The sudden appearance of the billy goat, described as a sagacious fellow, introduces a comic hero in the story. The goat is portrayed as a wise and clever, which adds to the humor because it is an unexpected solution. A simple animal is the one to save the day. The goat's charge, with its loud bellow, challenges Bhishma's singing and disrupts it in a physical and violent way, tossing and whirling his song. The poem concludes on a light-hearted and comic note as the world is finally granted the golden gift of silence. After all the chaos and destruction caused by Bhishma's singing, the silence is portrayed as a precious relief for everyone. The goat, the goat, through its determined action, becomes the unlikely hero, and the stanza humorously wraps up the exaggerated disaster with a satisfying and a peaceful resolution. Overall, the stanza continues the theme of the exaggeration and humor, using absurdity to highlight the unbearable nature of Bhishma's singing, while also introducing a clever and unexpected solution to the chaos. So that was all about this poem. I hope you have understood each and every line very well. If still you have not understood things, please go back, watch the video, pause the video, make notes, write the meanings on the poem itself where you are making notes. And all the best. I hope you have enjoyed the video. Please write in the comment box and please share it with your friends. And if you have not yet subscribed to Zenith Academy Online, please do it right away. And do not forget to tap on the bell icon so that you can receive our latest videos at earliest. Bye bye, my dear students, and keep the learning always on.